Hey, hey,
Hey,
hey.
all right,
Uh,
we are good on my end. I'm just going to host your channel from my channel.
yeah, no problem. And I see you. I see your beautiful face. So let me just get you going here.
Yep, stand by.
Alrighty.
Might have double feedback, so let me know if that happens.
All right, yeah, no problem. Oh wow, you just fit perfectly in. That's what I like to see. Woo! When
I come
think,
prepared, bro.
yeah, no, like it's always nice when technology works the way you want it to, right?
Right? Thursday though, man, I'll tell you, that was the day where my technology just shit the bed.
Oh, dude, I have that more than often. Like I started using Banana Meter and the audio in it. The last time I used it, it just kept pooping the bed. I was so frustrated because I spent like all night trying to get it all set it up, and then the next day after, it just started shitting the bed. I was just like,
What
now
did
I
it
gotta go.
do?
Oh my god, what the fuck, man?
No,
Oh,
been
all right.
there, man.
Let's get started. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys don't know what the bonfire segment is, what we do here is we interview streamers who dedicate a good amount of their time to their stream for various reasons. And our mission is to interview them and to see if there's a link between social media and gaming. Linked with mental health. So tonight's guest we have Wing Guy, um, and he does a lot of flight sim. So he is a squadron's fellow player, and I knew him from a while back here. So thank you again for coming in, Mr. Wing Guy. Appreciate you being our guest for tonight.
Hi, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for hosting me there, Playboy.
Absolutely. So we have two rules here. All right. So the first rule is if you don't want to answer any questions, you don't have to because this is freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want. Um, Mind you, you can say whatever you want, but we are online.
No
And
worries, I won't say things that are bad.
listen, I appreciate any feedback, anything coming in, any new information. I think everybody here appreciates that as well. The second rule is it's just you and me. So I know you're not streaming right now, so you don't have to worry about chat. So
Yeah, no
uh,
worries.
yeah, don't worry about that. We are just talking as two
No,
fellow
I'll actually
citizens.
I'll pull up your Twitch and then we can then I'll just keep an eye on chat for you, just in case
Okay.
somebody's got any questions, just to be nice.
We can also take questions at the end of our interview today.
Hey, no problem,
Um,
man. No,
so why don't we get started? So we usually start with the demographics. So it's usually just numbers and whatnot, right? We just focus on, you know, putting it out. If I were to put data on a spreadsheet, this is what it would look like, right? So let's
okay.
start with your name. So what would your name be, or what am I calling you tonight?
You can call me Adam. That's my first name. It's the only name I'll give you, but that's
Oh.
generally where I go by. Y-Wing guy is kind of like it's just my channel's name. It's kind of where I'm at with it. It's like an extension of who I am. So Adam works, man.
You're the first person to actually give me your first name. I love it. So far, so good. And your age?
uh, 90s kid. I'm a millennial.
You're a millennial, so we'll say 90s kid. And your gender?
Of course. Definitely not Twi'lek. I'm male.
Mm, male. Okay, good. And race?
I loved answering this one. Y-Wing. Just a Y-Wing guy.
Oh, I wing guy. Okay.
I couldn't resist, man. I was just like, oh, I know this one. Could have been something better, but whatever. I can feel my moderator just probably stressing out right now. Really?
Ethnicity?
Ethnicity. That wasn't on the questions here.
Oh, it is. It's yeah. You can say pass if you'd like.
Oh, sure, passive. I'm not sure what ethnicity means. Ethnic.
Ethnicity is like your roots, your background. So
Okay,
like
okay.
Native American, yeah.
Believe it or not, I have a Danish background. I'm a third
Danish.
generation Canadian, so
Very
it's
cool.
My grandfather came from Denmark, so we can call me a Viking if you want.
Hell yeah, bro.
Yeah, man.
I love it. And so your gaming platform,
Currently Star Wars.
currently Star Wars. Well, gaming platform would be like PC, Xbox,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got that one here. It's various
various. Okay, so PC and other stuff.
PC, Xbox,
Okay.
Nintendo, not PlayStation. I don't have that.
All right, various. And your stream platform.
Stream platform. So I like using Twitch and YouTube.
Hmm.
YouTube is rather a new accomplishment we got going on right now.
Twitch and YouTube. That is the
Oh
first
yeah.
also.
Oops.
Um, and so over your lifespan, how many years have you been gaming?
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Online or offline?
No, online, offline, it doesn't matter. Going back to what age did you start?
I probably started like really gaming in 1996,
Mm-hmm.
1997, around there. The
Mm-hmm.
N64, man, that's where it was at.
Mm-hmm. So collectively, over the years, how many years would you say?
From 97 to present.
97 to present. Okay. And so over your lifespan, how many years have you been streaming, or how much
Uh,
time have you been streaming?
6 months. On the 2nd of March, we've been streaming for 6 months.
6 months, not bad. So much newer streamer compared to the others that we've been doing. So this is really good. This is like interacting with somebody who's just getting into it, just getting into the
Raw.
yeah, very raw. Um, and you said your community is Star Wars, correct?
Yeah, currently it's all Star Wars. There's a little bit of art involved as well. 3D printing,
Hmm.
mostly Star Wars.
Do you consider yourself a full or part-time streamer?
Definitely a part time. I do have a
Okay,
full time job during the day, so I have to balance it out.
sounds good. And so when you stream, how often, for how long do you stream per stream?
Per week, it's average around 20 hours weekly.
Mm-hmm.
So monthly, that would be 2, 4, 6, 8, about 80 hours monthly.
Uh, but for one stream, how much would
Oh,
you
for
say?
one stream, it's around 4 hours.
4 hours, okay.
Yeah.
And what about for gaming, for each day?
Around the same. 4 hours per stream.
4 hours, so just as much as you stream.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now we're gonna go into social media. So every day, how often do you use social media? And that's including Discord, and that's including Twitch and all those outlets.
Good question. Since I'm like rather new to social media, I never really paid attention from the past.
Mm-hmm.
My learning experience has been literally brand new. So I'd say it's been picking up. It's been at a medium pace.
Mm-hmm. And if I were to put it into hours, how much would you say that would be?
So for social media, probably like 1 to 3 hours a day, just to keep up with advertisements, letting people know what I'm doing, showing off the 3D prints that are for the community on my end and all that jazz. So
Mm-hmm.
around 1 to 3 hours when I still have time.
1 to 3 hours. Okay. We'll say 3 hours, considering your average daily streaming time. Is that okay?
Still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
oh, yeah. Sorry. I just realized I turned on my volume by accident. I was leaning on something. There we go. Good.
Oh,
Sorry
I
about
love it, man. I love it. I do it all the
that. I
time.
was like, what am I leaning on? Oh, that's my button.
So okay, so before you were streaming, how many social media platforms did you use? Totaling it
Oh,
up.
geez. I just had Facebook. That's all I really had.
You just
And
have Facebook? Okay.
yeah, I was like maybe using Facebook here and there. I used it for my first YouTube channel to broadcast what I do for arts, and that was making dioramas back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's as far as I ever really went with it.
Mm.
So like social media and I still brand new to it. I'm still learning like how to operate within it, how to be professional, all that fun stuff. And it's been a lot of fun. Like social media is it's interesting. It's a very interesting ball of yarn, I'd say.
You so considering Facebook and Twitch, so that would be two, right?
Yeah.
Two.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, definitely those three.
Okay, three. Okay, gotcha. And while you're streaming, how many do you use?
While I'm streaming, I use my Discord. Okay, so while I'm on stream, my focus is mostly on community, Discords, just to let people know where I am, and on top of that, maybe say hi, and meet and greet. And while I'm streaming, those are my two main focuses, just to keep my brain from jumping around like crazy. It's
Mm-hmm.
during a stream, it can get super distracting when you start checking your Facebook messages and Instagrams and that. Just like, nope, just relax. You're on camera. Focus on the objective at hand. You can deal with the Instagram stuff later.
And we'll get more into social media use and all that stuff. So you
Yeah, yeah,
use Instagram, right?
yeah.
Did you use Instagram before you started streaming?
No, no.
Okay.
I didn't really know what the platform was, and it was back in 2020 of March, actually this month of 2020. I started in like investing into knowing what Instagram was about. So it's a pretty
Mm.
unique platform.
Mm. All right, awesome. So you totaled up to four platforms currently.
Oh,
Um,
there we go.
there you go. And you just passed the demographic, so congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. All right, so let's get into your life before you started streaming, right? So
Okay.
what? Let's take it all the way back to '90s kid Y-wing guy, right? When you started gaming, what really inspired you to keep on going and keep on gaming?
Well, gaming for a while was actually a way for me to escape a bit of reality. For instance, if you guys remember that, all us 90 kids will definitely remember Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Love
Mm-hmm.
that game. I listened to the music. I thought it was the cream of the crop at the time because you're flying these ships, you're having a lot of fun. 90s kid Adam was extremely enthralled to be in the cockpit of some sort of aircraft or spacecraft.
Mm-hmm.
So I 90s kid Adam was also seeing gaming as also a way to project the mindset of seeing visually what it's like to say see an aircraft fly. So I was extremely attracted to seeing the visual concepts of these as a kid. Like, how does that thing work come to life?
Mm-hmm. So you were
So,
really immersed in flight sim games even before Squadrons, like before you started
oh yeah,
streaming. You love flight sim games. So was
oh yeah.
um was it just Rogue Squadrons? Were you into X-wing versus Tie Fighter and stuff like that?
Actually, that's a very good question. I've been trying to pinpoint where I started with the whole flight sim part of my life since, and I
Mm-hmm.
believe it started with actually a TV show that you all remember. It's called Tailspin.
Hmm.
And
Interesting.
as a kid, my mom told me, she says, you used to watch that like religiously. You just loved the aircraft. I would skip the parts where there's dialogue just to see the aircraft fly around for like the split seconds that were on screen. And again, I think that really points back to my conceptualization of how does an aircraft work? Of course, my father did get into Star Wars, did the X-wing and Tie Fighter series. I believe he played only the X-wing series, but like I did get to watch him play that for the time that we had the computer up and running. So my exposure to, I would say, aerodynamics. Let's just get into that. Aerodynamics was brought upon because of Star Wars. Like I started to understand what pitch was, roll, yaw, and I was watching my dad fly around. It's just like that's how that works. This is so cool.
So were
So
you what was it about flying that really just struck you as like being something so immersed?
all right, so a little background history. I did attempt to become a pilot 3 times.
Hmm.
All three of them failed. The
Mm-hmm.
last bit wasn't actually my fault. It was just financial problems. So
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is. I love flying. It's a way. It's really very hard to explain right now. Actually, it's not. Flying is like being free. being
Mm-hmm.
up in the clouds, being up in the air. Yes, you're around an environment with other pilots that possibly have the same vision. They're doing all of their checks and such. But a part of me has never been afraid of flying. Like it's my, how would it say? It's a part of me that I rarely get to express as much as I want to.
Mm-hmm.
Say so. To me, when squadrons came out and such like that, coming up the present day, going into a full sim, much like my father did, was a way for me to express that side of my life that I know like shines. Like that's where Adam lives.
Mm-hmm.
He lives in the wings of a Cessna 172 or maybe a CL 215 water bomber. Like it's what shaped my mentality on how to understand aerodynamics and space and all that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. So you really got to be able to find freedom within the air, right? It's that feeling of being able to be in control of this one little ship or this one little whatever aircraft, and you were able to like really do what you wanted to do, and
Oh
that
yeah,
really
oh yeah.
expressed like kind of like that was like kind of immersive with your own personality as well, just finding freedom
It
within
it
the
really
air and
it
sky.
really
Yeah,
is.
very cool.
As I told my business partner J.K. Strats here, he's actually in the chat here. I told him
Mm-hmm.
is this flying is like an extension of yourself. If there, you here's the two differences of a pilot, for instance, you can fly. Any pilot can fly a plane. You can get trained up. You can fly a plane, do the do.
Mm-hmm.
But a real pilot is not only just trained, but he is the plane. Like it's an extension of your arms. So from moving to the left and right for the roll axis to using your feet to cause the yaw,
Mm-hmm.
everything there, you are the plane. And that's the
Right.
part where I love the most. Like once you get into the like it's something you have to experience on yourself to understand, but once you're there and you're inside that cockpit and really flying and you start to, I don't know how to explain it, but you start to do some wild and wondrous things of like say like dodging a bird. I've had to done that
Mm-hmm.
on the spot. It was like like the body of myself was extended to the ship and the ship moved.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really cool experience. I can't explain this. You have to do it yourself to really
Mm.
have the knowledge of what I'm trying to talk about.
Right, right. And I love that. It's kind of like sword fighters. They use the sword as an extension of themselves, but they have such serenity when they're swaying it around and doing what they want to
Yeah,
do. Right.
it's
It
like
it
dance moves too, right?
yeah, right, exactly. Um so how often did you use social media platforms when you were growing up, and like what was that like? Why did you use social media?
Oh, good question. So, social media in my life didn't appear until 2007 when Facebook was launched, I
Mm-hmm.
believe. I actually avoided it for about a year because everybody was getting it. I didn't really think about this social media thing. I was like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then I saw it. And one day I checked it out. It was Facebook, of course. I checked it out and I saw, huh, this is pretty cool. Just like the games back in the 90s where you could create your character for all those adventure games and all that jazz. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, this is really cool. Your character creation is real now. It's part of this weird network. And at the time, I didn't understand what like how big Facebook would get at the time. But when I finally got into it, I started to see like the options of like how people could see your life as it is right now. Like back as teens, we were very dramatic, so it's like our
Mm-hmm.
relationship is complicated, like that kind of stuff. But it's just like you can create your own identity in good and bad ways if you wanted to. I think if I went good, but you can
Mm-hmm.
create your own identity and kind of project that. Like, have my name. Here's my resume, basically, in a nutshell.
Right. And so
So
you got a lot of pleasure in creating your own. It's just like in a game, creating your own character, and you said
yeah,
connecting with other people and
oh
networking.
yeah, yeah. It's like when people like back then when we were kids or teenagers, we just posted whatever, right? We didn't care. Like
Right.
memes were even a thing back then. They were just known as posts. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like as for me, I was just like, not many people knew about who I was, which is fine. But if they wanted to know, they can, I was like, here's a source you can go to. Here's my character profile. Like this is who I am. So just by the way, if you guys are trying to look for me on Facebook, if you do find me, I will not accept your friend request.
Haha, got you.
Just to be honest here, guys, like I'm a married man, so see you later. Yeah,
Wait, so you mentioned that it was easier to express to other people who you were by referring to this profile. Um, was
yeah,
it that concept of just having it all there on one network or one platform, or was it just the fact that you put so much time into this profile that it's just like, if you're really going to identify by me, you can find this here, right? What was
Yeah.
that kind of like?
Um,
Yeah.
so like I'll just give you a little bit of background. So, but growing up, I was very creative. I was very excited. I do have ADHD and ADD, but I was like the
Mhm.
hyper energy that I have was explosive as a teenager. You can ask like a couple of my friends that are actually my moderators. They can tell you stories of what I used to do. And the problem with that is that when you have a very like high energy person that's like let's get it done, like really excited, that kind of actually pushes away people, especially introverts like they just look at me like what is wrong with this guy. And that's totally fine as a teenager, whatever, it is what it is. Like I accepted that that's a part of my life and I actually use it to my advantage now
Mm-hmm.
in my adult life. But for Facebook, like for that part of social media, I decided that hey, I have a heck of a time really telling people what I'm like, and people already have like in high school, whatever. People make kind of generalizations about each other and stick with it. That's just like people already have this generalization of like Adam is just a crazy guy
Mm-hmm.
who likes planes. It is like the most excited nerd you'll get. So I was like, all right, whatever. If you guys don't like that, well, here's a profile you guys can go to. That's more calm, less crazy, not explosively energetic, and just as is.
That's such an important point you said. Like, because you had such high energy, it was harder for you to express yourself because you felt like you had so much to say. But, like, and I have that too. I also have ADHD. So I sometimes have trouble explaining myself and explaining what things are. But if I have reference points, it makes life so much easier. Like, it makes it so much
So
easier.
true.
So I,
So
I,
true.
I appreciate that. That makes a lot of sense. So when you started gaming and you were in school and working, how did you balance your schedule out? What was that like?
Okay, so gaming at the time was just a leisure. Like at that time, after high school and jazz, the gaming was just more of a leisure at that point. I was
Mm-hmm.
more focused on like graduating and kind of like seeing where my life would go, moving into aeronautical studies,
Mm-hmm.
uh, trying to become a pilot, all that fun stuff. So like gaming was more of just like my release. So what I used to do is I'd actually go to five of my friends. We would meet up after work and
Mm-hmm.
we would just have a ham. Like we would just go crazy. We would just get a bucket of KFC and just like a bunch of nerds. We would play like Halo 3 or like at the time Halo ODST or Gears of War 2 just to kind of decompress. And man, we've had great nights doing that. Like that if there's one thing I can go wish if I can go back to is actually being present with my friends right now doing that
Mm-hmm.
because as I've transitioned from being a teenager into a young adult, those times were the most, I would say, aside from the gaming experience, the most self-reflective times. Like you actually got to sit down and like, sure, you have your game and all that jazz, but then you have that like one question pop. I was like, so what's it going to be like tomorrow now that we're doing this? Or
Mm-hmm.
what's the college you're going to? This like the changes were there and the camaraderie was real.
Mm-hmm.
It's like gaming was just I would say is a way to bring people together and to be honest, if you want to start a self-identifying who you are in the future or
Mm-hmm.
discovery, it's just a gateway to open those conversations up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said connect with others, like build relationships. So you found that gaming was an outlet to building those relationships and finding friends who you felt more closer to.
Oh
It's
yeah.
kind of like you're putting them through the trial of gaming, and they
Well,
and yeah, go ahead.
you can tell a lot by a gamer. Like for instance, I'm talking about in person, not online. By the way, this is in
Mm-hmm.
person, like 5 year actual friends.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell a lot by a person because since I played around with the whole idea of like creating your profile, I knew the dark sides where you can create your profile and make people think what you want them to think of you. Thankfully, I'm an open slate. Like, hey, this is what you get. Like, it is what it is. But as for online, making friends online was actually a rarity for me because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
really trust that on the other side I may be talking to this amazing Halo 3 pilot or a player. Sorry, he's got some mad skills that like could resemble Ninja,
Mm.
but is that really him?
Right.
It's like, am I really like, am I talking to that person, or am I talking to a side of that person? And I
Mhm.
have had those conversations where I'd run into someone online, we'd start be talking, we're having fun, and whatever, months go by, but all of a sudden his character changes, like a sliver of character, and you're like, hey, how's it, you okay, man? And he just blocks right out, and he reverts back to that online persona, and that's
Mhm.
known as double life. So
Mhm.
that's rarely something that I really accepted in my life. Like, okay, if you're living a double life, I'm not going near you. It
Mhm.
is what it is, because that can create some large dramas. So, but when it's in real life, like I said, you're right there. You know the person beside you. It's a lot of fun.
You.
I'd say, like, when after, like, for all those who are teenagers right now, aspiring to be streamers and a lot of jazz, I'm saying this to you right now.
Mhm.
If you're going to stream, practice being around your real friends first and open up and be yourself.
Mhm.
So when you come to being a streamer, you know what to expect.
Mhm.
And not everybody's gonna like you. Get over
And
it.
when we get into towards the end part, we can talk more about
Yeah,
talking to
yeah,
novice streamers and gamers and whatnot. So what was it like? So, but we're still on before streaming, and before you really got into the Twitch community or YouTube community. What was it like? Just handling stressing and anxiety, and then we'll move on to depression. Go ahead.
yeah. Okay, so I'm not really kind of a guy to, like, allow stress or depression or anxiety to build up, because I know the dangers that can come along. As a teenager, I did experience those quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, how I dealt with stress, back in the day, at least, today not so much, is I used
Mm-hmm.
to work out. Like, I used to work out, just like let my body build up to something. And what that does is that allows you to see yourself being progressed,
Mm-hmm.
shape wise. Like, there's nothing wrong with working out. That's actually a really healthy thing to do. So seeing your body change from, like, at that time I was like a scrawny kid, from a scrawny kid to a buff dude, was just like, yeah, like it's just like that pickup that you didn't know it was there.
Mm-hmm.
For depression, for me, it depends on who I'm around. So, as I told my my business partner in jazz, and my wife, and whoever I've known, that says, you're in my life because you're a positive part of my life. You are the reinforcements of how my shape of who I am was created.
Mm-hmm.
Because, let's just be honest, you mix in a negative person in your life, you're going to get negative results. But if you mix in or surround yourself with the people that are positive, uplifting, encouraging, pushing forward, even inspiring, and willing to ask you certain really hard questions,
Mm-hmm.
those are the people that are going to help you become who you are.
Mm-hmm. So
Say,
you found outlets for depression in finding positivity in others, right? So when you were starting, when you felt that sadness or isolation or whatever it may be, you thought, okay, well, in order to handle this, I would have to go find that elsewhere. Is that kind of what you're saying?
um, not really. There's a borderline there, because that could be leading on to, like, self affirmation. Like, hey, do you
Mm-hmm.
think I'm a cool guy? No, what I'm saying is that, like, when you surround yourself with positive people, they're going to just put positivity in your life, no drama or anything like that. If they do have some, they're not going to, like, dive into it saying it's all her fault or whatever. I mean, I used to be like that as a teenager. It was a horrible experience,
Mm-hmm.
because all you do is you project, like, negative stuff, and negativity is toxic.
Right.
But if you're a naturally positive person, and you see, like, your friend, for instance, and you're like, hey man, I know you're going through a hard time, but you got this.
Mm-hmm.
There's that difference. You're no longer, that person's not asking for your affirmation, you're giving that person affirmation that he's got this.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all up here, right? It's all up in the head. Sometimes
Right.
we get a little bit, like, first person on everything, but we need to zoom out to see third person from someone else's perspective
Mm-hmm.
when they present it.
Right.
So
So
that's the borderline.
right, and you were able to find, and the friends that you had that you were probably gaming with and stuff, they probably had this positive personality as well, and
Oh
they
yeah,
were
oh yeah.
also, yeah, very
Well, they have
cool.
a positive, sarcastic. Like, here's the thing: I surround myself with various types of characters: introverts, extroverts, crazy people, like, like
Mm-hmm.
some negative people, some very talented, some very skilled, some very logical. My brother being a logical one, like very. different sources, but they all have one thing in common.
Hmm.
They see life as a positive thing. And even though life can throw the challenges at you, it's not like they're alone in the walk that they walk.
Hmm. Exactly. So and that's very important to find those people that really influence you to be your best self, right? And not
Yeah.
just because, again, as you said, self-affirmation, but for more or less kind of like that energy that kind of transfers over to you indirectly. And I think that's
That's
very important to finding people that you feel truly yourself around. So
oh
that's a
yeah, yeah.
yeah, such an important point. What about your parents? What were they like
I'm
growing
not
up?
actually going to get into that one. That one
Okay.
I'm going to leave off the chart just out of respect to my parents. I, it is what it is. I just want to keep that secret.
Okay. Yeah, we could pass that. No problem. Have you ever played competitively when you were growing up?
I've always wanted to. A part of my lifestyle growing up, and I will admit, is I'm a very competitive guy.
Hmm.
Um, a little too competitive. So thankfully, I'm a little bit more older, and I can draw the line where I was like, okay, don't do that. Like that's a dumb thing to do. But yeah, I've always wanted to try playing competitively,
Hmm.
including squadrons.
Hmm.
Um, it is what it is. Life gets in the way. It's not much I can do.
So eventually, you might find a game that you will be extremely competitive in. Uh,
Um, I wouldn't say a game. Like I would love to. I would love to be a gamer and all that fun stuff. But at my current age, I decided that if I was going to go that route,
mhm.
what am I sacrificing to get to that point?
Okay.
And I mean, I'll be honest. Like, if my wife and I have a kid tomorrow,
Hmm.
and I was a competitive dad, would he see his father? Those are questions I have to ask at this point in my life. If I was like maybe like 10 years younger, I would say yes. I would totally be jumping in the Super Smash Brother tournaments if I knew about them and just be like hammering away.
Hmm. Right.
but but it's I'm at that point now where it's like, do I need to be competitive right now, or should I continue to do what I'm doing and still grow from this? Maybe one day I could be, but I can't say yes today.
Very interesting. Sacrifice leads to being having this competitive edge. What are you taking away to divert a lot of your time into whatever it is that you're taking seriously or you're taking
Okay.
to a next level? So but that's a very important point that you said sacrifice, because not all the people that I've talked to who talked about their competitive life, they really said, like, I had this game here and this game there, but I transitioned away or whatever it is. It formulated into this, but they never talk about what they take away in order to have that. So that's a very
Yeah.
important point that you brought up. Very cool.
It's it's something as a streamer is particular you have to think about. Like sacrificing time
Hmm.
to grow something, a community, a Twitch channel, whatever it may be, will impact your life because you're trading your life time for something to grow, and there's no guarantees. So there has to be borderlines where you have to recognize like I can't do this because I have commitments or I just know that if I get sucked into this, my wife will never see me again. Like this is like you have to be honest with yourself. And if you say nah, like I'll be fine, you're only putting yourself in the fire that's going to burn you.
Hmm.
It's a very scary thing to do. Is never lie to yourself, man. Like
Hmm.
it's the worst thing you can do to any career that you're going to do.
Interesting. And it's almost like you have this urge to do it, but you know that there's post
There's
formal, yeah,
consequences.
there's consequences, there's things that you have to think about that might be affected in the process. So very interesting.
Having the foresight to see the question or option at hand is imperative to anything you do throughout your lifestyle.
Hmm.
And if you can recognize them right on the spot, then you don't have to go through that. That's just how it is.
So
So,
so let's talk about your community. Before you started streaming, so how did you connect to the Star Wars community or flight sim
oh,
community before you
I mean,
got into it?
this question was really fun to think about. So when I started looking into the concepts of streaming and all that jazz, I had like really crappy internet at the time. My wife and I were in the middle of a move. I was just like, okay, we just got out of debt. What can I do to build something new. And when I started looking into streaming, of course, I went to the same friends that I have today, and I says, "Hey, I want to do this," and they kind of like, "Well, you're going to need a lot of cool things, or maybe like a concept design or something to work with." I was like, "Those are really good points," and I started with that. So in this case, Star Wars Squadrons was coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Super excited for that. I'm like, "Oh my goodness, this is the game calling me for me. Like this is my jam right there. VR pilot and everything. I want to do this. How do I translate my life aspirations for this to work to a community?"
Mm-hmm.
And I started by posting Y-Wing-Guy in 7 months, Star Wars Squadrons on Instagram, kind of filling around, understanding how that platform works, kind of asking around on Facebook of like, how is anybody here stream? Could you guys have any pointers and such? I started looking up a guy named Harris Heller. You guys might have already known about him.
Mm-hmm.
He runs a channel on YouTube called Alpha Gaming, and I took notes, man. I'm like pages and pages and pages of notes just to understand what I was getting into. And as I started to do that, once in a while, someone in the comment section of a YouTube video with Geetsleys or Eckhart's Ladder or on Instagram would say hello, and I started to practice integrating of how do I talk to these guys
Mm-hmm.
before I start streaming? How do I experience streaming before I'm streaming, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I with all that experimentation, I learned how to be a professional mindset before I entered the Twitch arena, basically, I would say. And believe it or not, it's paid off. Like here I am today talking to you, and I'm like, wow, like here we are 6 months later. If I hadn't done that for 5 months of conceptualizing, planning, understanding, getting into the mindset of what it's like to be a streamer, I don't think I would have done this well.
Mm-hmm. What about for Star Wars? How did you connect with Star Wars before, even aside from gaming, right? How did you connect with people with Star Wars and Rogue Squadron, right?
Well, actually, I did just mostly in real life stuff. I would
Mm-hmm.
hang out with people, mention Star Wars, kind of prod a little bit to see if they're into it, and if they're not, then don't worry about it. But if they are, see, like it starts out as a knowledge base. She's like, "Hey, what do you know about Thrawn?" And like you know those nerdy little talks. Starts out there, but then all of a sudden it just like I can tell when someone's in the Star Wars one. They see like for instance, when I was mentioning way back. On the fourth month of like researching, like, hey, I'm thinking about making like 3D printed helmets for my channel. And like, I remember this guy named Brian. He was just like, "What? You're gonna do what?" I'm like, "Yeah, 3D printed helmets. Like, what do you think of a Boba Fett helmet?" He goes, "Dude, I'm subbing right now." Like, he was just blown away. But because of that little prod, he opened up his experience of what Star Wars did for him. And it's definitely interconnected real life connection that I have. Now it's on now, like speeding up to now, definitely meeting people who are like, this is what Star Wars did for me. This is how I involve myself with Star Wars. This is what I love about it. This is how it not changes my life, but this is how I release my mindset into it, just to let it flow. Right? It's really cool. Um, I also met people who draw art through Star Wars. People who have written novels about, or not written novels, fan art or fan stories, whatever to call it, fan fiction. That's the word on Star Wars. It's just ever since I decided to take it up a notch and go become a streamer, I've been finding more people in real life who love this genre as a whole. I
You
had
know,
to avoid episode 9 people though. Ooh, they were mad.
I think we could all have. I think we all have our little. We have our thoughts about the sequel trilogy,
Yeah.
which we
I
could.
was just like, it is what it is, man.
Yeah, it is the what would we call it? The Lost Boys. The what do you call it? The Lost Years. I like to call it the Lost Years, which is very current. But
Yeah. Just
you, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. No, you go
No,
ahead. I think you
you.
finished. Oh,
Okay.
me? Okay.
Um,
Why do you like Star Wars?
why do I love Star Wars? Oh my God, my brother, holy shit! I'll tell you what, he was the biggest Star Wars fan, and it was just like contagious, right? Like,
You
and I think
Oh
you
yeah.
get that too, is how contagious Star Wars can be, and how it
Oh yeah.
connects us all together. Whether it's characters or it's the storyline or whatever it may be, the lightsabers, whatever the hell you want to call it. But there's some type of energy that George Lucas created that spread throughout our galaxy, and I think that's super important for us, right?
Isn't it? Isn't it? It's just the knowledge of something like beyond our Milky Way galaxy that is an actual place called the Denab system. It's a
Mm.
real place, by the way. Can you imagine like if this was actually happening?
Oh my
Like
God, take
I
me
know,
to
right? I'm like, oh my gosh, the Denab system is really happening.
take me to that galaxy, please.
Just take me, please. I'll gladly shake the hands of a Twi'lek.
Let me ask you
So,
something. I know you always wear that sweatshirt, right? The
oh yes, Rebel
rebel
Pilot.
the
Yes,
rebel
yes.
pilot sweatshirt. Were you very? Did you get yourself into cosplay at all, or was it just like
Uh,
this is just kind of it?
this was kind of an on the fly idea that just popped up. Like it was a month before Squatters was coming out, and I was talking to my buddy. I'll just call him Bill. But I sent the Bill. I says, "So what do you think of this?" And I sent him a sweater on just a picture of it. He goes, "That's pretty nerdy." I'm like, "Great. What do you think if I decide to wear this?" He goes, "Well, you're the biggest nerd I know." So I bought it. I conceptualized like, hey, if I'm going to be the Y-wing guy, and I'll get to the why I named it that way later on. It's like if
Mm,
I'm going to make this channel, what should I do that makes it stand out? And I said, let's start with a sweater. Let's see what we can do with just a sweater. And I
mhm.
wore this thing around town, and all the old guys were like, ugh, whatever. But a lot of the young kids were like, I love your sweater, man. I'm just like, yeah, this is good. I'm getting some like, I'm not affirmation. This is not what I'm looking for.
Uh-huh.
The word is marketplace research. I would say you're throwing yourself out by wearing this product and seeing how many people give you a thumbs up.
Very cool. And
So I got a lot of thumbs up walking around the mall.
was your sweatshirt the only kind of artifact that kind of like drove your love for Star Wars, or are there other things that you have
Oh,
laying around that are also
oh man.
influential?
My wife, I think she's watching right now, but she could tell you. But it started off with Lego. If you like, there's a bit of Lego in the back here
Mm-hmm.
that been constructed. It started with that. For a few years ago, I started to when I was a single lad. I decided to hey, I'm going to invest some money into just building these UCS sets because why not? Like I'm working my butt off. It's a nice little way to create and expand your spatial ability in building stuff. Well, geez, or spatula, that's right. And geez, I had to stop buying Lego because I had a whole collection, but that's where it all started when it came to what I have for Lego. As in terms of like movie props and such, yeah, I do own a lightsaber. I bought that back in 2010, and it used to sit on my wall and whatever. It's just there now. It's being integrated in the shop. Oh, let's see what else is there. Oh, geez.
Whose lightsaber do you have?
I'll pull it right here. I was actually looking at it today. I've got Obi-Wan Kenobi's
Oh
from
yeah, that's
20.
definitely Obi-Wan's.
This
That's
is
definitely
literally
Obi-Wan's.
11 years old now. Yeah, it still works.
I need to get myself a lightsaber. I might take away the bat part of it and just have the lightsaber because when you hold a lightsaber, you feel so powerful. I mean, they
I
always
know.
say it's not the instrument, it's the energy within, but like holy shnikes, I'll
Oh
tell
yeah.
you what.
Okay. Here's some funny things. Like when I was designing this shop, for instance, when my wife and I moved to our new place, I
Mm,
was just I'm building this place. This is like a month before Star Wars Squadrons came out. I had the
mm.
lightsaber out, and she caught me just holding it in different poses, and I'm kind of like imagining myself in these areas. And she goes, "What are you doing?" And I like freaked out like a little girl. Just it's on my other side. Oh no! Why am I doing that? She's my wife. She's seen everything.
Haha.
Yeah, right. So open. Your marriage must be honest. Yeah, she calls me a nerd, so it's all right though. It's like that's so. If you really want to think about it, like since Star Wars has been around since I was in since '97 for me, and I watched all the movies and such,
Mhm.
being able to go back and kind of letting your mind going to that sense of like I said that escape, that conceptualization of where would you fit if I was in this genre? You would think I'm a Jedi, and like you start thinking like a Jedi, you start making poses. Like kids do that. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
seen when I worked with the Cider Youth Ministries, way back in the day with kids, they love like playing a part, whether it
Mm-hmm.
be a stormtrooper, Darkwing Duck, whatever it be. It's like that mindset of an actor is, can I put myself into that character and be the character, not just
Mm-hmm.
act it? Like you are literally living and breathing this person. Like Jack Sparrow, for instance, played by I don't remember his name right now, Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Like he literally became the character. Or the
Mm-hmm.
most recent movie, Pokemon Detective Pikachu. If you watch the documentaries on of Ryan Reynolds, be like it's a bit of a mockumentary at the same time. He's got some
Right.
good jokes in there, but he says I literally became Pikachu. Like he wanted to put himself into this Pokemon. He
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be the character. And when I watched that movie, I was like, I get that. I really get that because it's fun. It really
Mm-hmm.
is. Like you're literally playing the part. You're not saying corny lines or anything or being stale. Like no one's watching, so you just do you.
Right. It's that role playing that you want to integrate yourself with. Like, you always see people, and it's so crazy, even like fighting choreography. Like, I see guys
Oh
playing with
yeah,
lightsabers and doing like these cool different things because they want to integrate themselves in that universe, but they
yeah,
also create their own like fighting. And I thought that was so cool because it's just something so small, but we remember from Revenge of the Sith when Anakin's taken on Obi-Wan, that is one of the greatest lightsaber fights of all time. And
best ever.
yes, yes. So there's a lot to, creating your own universe than just, I would say like having something or having like doing a Lego whatever. Like kids actually play with that. Adults play with that. They create their own universe. They use their
Yeah,
imagination and they integrate themselves into something they love.
and honestly, as an adult who builds 3D prints, uses a CAD program to make my own stuff,
Mm-hmm.
creativity is key to building that area of your life, to developing the skills that you need to do to create solutions for problems, not just one-way avenues.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why like I love going into that zone, is because sometimes you get an idea like this shirt because I wanted to be a pilot. Going way back to the 1990s, my
Mm-hmm.
aspiration of being a pilot, here I am. I'm like, I'm a rebel pilot. I'm that Y-wing guy. Like, okay, I'll get
Damn
like I said, I'll
straight.
get to the, like what I'll get to that name in a bit. It's a bit of a play on words, but it's just like I wanted to project that part of my life into my costume and into my personality because that is a part of me.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Star Wars related version of my pilot life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I always thought that it was a full outfit until I like zoomed in. I was like, oh, it's a
Oh
sweatshirt,
yeah,
but
so many people are asking, "Is like, hey man, where'd you buy your outfit?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a sweater. You can get
it's a
on Amazon
sweater.
for like $30." They're shocked. They're like, "Really? That thing looks legit." I'm like, "I know, right? It's so good. It's so thin too. It's good for California."
Oh, well, there you go, guys. And where can we find such a sweatshirt?
You can find it on Amazon on the U.S. sites. Canada sites suck. They got nothing, man. Like Canada or Amazon.ca has got bubkis, but you go on the U.S. Amazon.com, you will find this shirt. Now, I'll let you know, I did get this from a drop shipper, so it took like close to almost 5 weeks to get to me for a Prime member. So
Wow.
you might be in for a wait.
Oh God, especially nowadays. All
I
right,
know,
man.
right?
Tell us about Y-Wing Guy. I think we're all in suspense about the name,
Okay.
man.
All right, so that Y-wing guy, I wanted when I was starting out with the last and final month of conceptualizing how this channel is going to be. The first thing I noticed was the name's got to make sense. It's got to have something catchy. It's got to be something memorable. It's got to be something that people will be like, "Hey, I like that. That's a good name." And I thought, let's combine Family Guy with American Dad and Two and a Half Men. What do I get? Okay, so we obviously the guy right there, Family Guy. That's easy.
Mm-hmm.
But where do I get that from Two and a Half Men? Well, it's actually because Charlie Sheen was playing this like ridiculous, kind of a sarcastic Jack
Mm-hmm.
in that show, and I'm like, okay, let's go with that because he's being that person. What's my favorite ship? well, it's the Y-wing. What does that symbolize? Like, I started really piecing things together, and all of a sudden it just clicked one day. I said, that Y-wing guy. I
That's
realized I realized there, I was like, that's a catchy name. So what I did is I created a YouTube channel
mm,
and tested it out again, just like this, walking around with this sweatshirt.
mm,
I tested that out by talking in the comments, and I started getting, I love that name. I love that name. I started talking to people who were streaming just like us.
mm,
Stream pros, amazing. Those guys are really good. When I subbed to them and I started paying into their subscription just to learn more about streaming habits and jazz, the
mm.
first thing that dude said was, "I have a slave one, and I love your name." It's like, again, there's that marketing. You just test it out, see what things are like, and then roll with it or refine it and do it again.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, I'm going into Star Wars Squadrons. I'm obviously that Y-wing guy. I gotta fly the Y-wing. Yeah. Well, I hated it. I hate to disappoint you there, but the first time you and I met up, I was flying the X-wing, and I watched your stream because I wanted to see your perspective.
Yeah.
And you were looking for each Y-wing, and you're trying to
Yeah.
shoot him down. And you're like, where is this guy? Of course, I shoot you down. You're like, oh, he's in an X-wing. And you said the funniest part was like, man, his name really confused. Like, it got me. And I
Yeah.
just right away I typed in as like ironic flying. Like, I didn't realize the advantage I had at that point.
I swear I thought you were like gonna be running around on a Y. I thought you'd be running rotary or something. I like IC2 or
Yeah.
whatever it was at the time, and you were just whizzing around in an X-wing. I was like, okay,
I
now
was
I
like,
have to
what's he
go chase
doing?
this little guy.
That was
Ah,
back in the day when I was testing out my what I call the Shrek build. So it's like, oh, that's awesome. I didn't realize that I did that. So the Y-wing guy is a catchy, memorable name, and it's like I meet people once in a while in the chat. They're like, "Hey, it's the guy!" Like it's just the day we start meeting people in real life, Poiboy. Like of course, people are going to know your name. People are going to know my name. They're going to know Avenger One, Skywalker, whatever. Our names are iconic. They're becoming iconic.
mm-hmm.
Anakin Skywalker was iconic way back from the 70s or from the 80s to now because he wasn't really Anakin Skywalker wasn't mentioned until uh wait, was he mentioned in A
He,
New Hope? I don't remember.
yeah, he was. He
Yeah,
was.
yeah, okay, yeah, he was.
Mm-hmm.
So like his name was iconic.
Mm-hmm.
Who's ever heard the word Anakin? I never have. I used to call him as a kid. I call it Alekin because I thought that's what he said. Alekin Skywalker. I was like, I argued with my dad. I'm like, it's Alekin, Dad. He goes,
Yeah.
Anakin at him.
It wasn't.
But
It was maybe brought up once or twice. Well,
yeah,
it maybe once in New Hope, and then it like
but
that's
it's
what it was.
stuck.
Right.
It's stuck. You had Luke Skywalker, another iconic name. I think the only normal name aside from Leia to be in the Star Wars universe.
Right.
By the way, a lot of the names are either German derivative or just something wacky like or something like that. Like
Mi-
so, it's like you have these iconic names, and I was drawing inspiration from these people, these how these names that made sense. And at the time, since the Y-wing guy channel was brand new, this is what I had to work with. It's like, okay, I got the sweater,
Mm-hmm.
I've got a name. What do I do with it?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Very
so
it.
yeah, that's where it all started with.
And that's pretty important. You wanted your name to be something unique, but you wanted to be iconic in a very specific way. You wanted people to understand, like, yeah, he's that Y-wing guy. He doesn't always fly a Y-wing, but it's something that you would remember and you would go check out and go see what he's like, right? Like we all
Yeah,
know that if you have something unique like say like Obi-Wan or Anakin or something like that, then you remember that and you carry that over and you want to know more about them, right?
but
Maybe go ahead.
here's a good example. Now we move into the Twitch area.
Mm.
Ninja. What do you think right away when you think of Ninja?
No, I think of
I
the streamer.
vaguely think of blue-haired dude, plays Fortnite, really good, has an awesome background in competitive gaming,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I think of. That's as far as my knowledge can be. But right away, you know who that is, and even if you've never seen him, you probably heard of him. The name becomes iconic enough, whatever genre you have,
Mm-hmm.
to recognize Luke Skywalker. Who, if you never watched Star Wars Squadrons or Star Wars in general,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure someone will be like, "Oh, I know that name. I know about him. That's about it."
Right.
it's almost as iconic as Jesus Christ. Like if you go that way. So it's the name is very important
Mm-hmm.
to the beginnings of your channels. I would say, like, you and I are both well known at this point. It's like I remember when we were all starting out. Like I remember seeing your name. I'm like, Poiboy. That's a different name. That's pretty cool.
The people still don't know what poi is, but
Oh, hey, you
there's always ways.
you
And-
reminded me of what poi was because I remember you. I jumped into your channel once, and I remember I became a subscriber, and I got you to do with your little loyalty points there. You got to do some poi
yeah,
with your glow sticks, and I was
yeah.
like, oh, I remember what that is. You kind of like started connecting dots of what that little skill is. And
Hmm.
how I got myself involved with it at one point. I was actually a girlfriend I dated, and she was in a poi. I was just like, "Oh, I remember that. That's pretty cool, man." Like, I get it now.
The
It's iconic.
the first question they always ask me, were you at what festivals do you go to? It's like I've only gone to one. Like I don't usually like I actually learned it
Yeah,
when I was 10. So it was like this is like something like you guys are just associating with other parts of your
yeah.
life. Like Star Wars, you can always associate it with Star Wars and like all
But
that jazz, but
now I'm going to throw this. I'm going to throw this plot idea at your channel. What if in the future, 5, 6 years down the road,
mm,
you had like a poi boy team that did like live shows? Get
I
crazy on that,
I
man.
haven't honestly. I have not met anybody who does poi who also streams or has stopped by lately. They know about it, but the skill is very unique, right? Like it's not like you find it anywhere else except for if you just redeem the points and you want to do a poi show. I got you, but like I would love to see people come in and kind of integrate with poi, just like for you integrate themselves with flight sims and flying and then like that's what we really like is to find people who well not
Yeah,
just can
the
relate but are interested. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, they're willing to develop their skills and maybe even seek you out for a mentor. It's like I
Hmm.
said, the iconic name comes in one thing, and like I said, again, we have substance behind our names. So you're in the poi, you fly Star Wars Squadrons. I fly simulator. I'm like one of the few VR guys out there. We have substance. It's only up from there. Like, what do you do with that, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
All right, next question. I think we jammed that one
Oh
up
no
pretty
no,
good.
I was just about to get into it. So tell me about your first year streaming. So you are on 6 months, so tell me about your experience in these past 6 months.
Okay, first experience. JK can tell you all about this. So back when we were beginning all this whole Star Wars Squadrons hype, we were excited. We got the game pre-downloaded. We were
Hmm.
ready to rock. I have my computers I built. Well, actually, I had just one computer I built. The other one was kind of pre-built. So
Hmm.
whatever, I made some deals and got a computer that could handle the game over at my place just to run it.
Hmm.
It was actually a really rough start. We had three plans. We would both stream Star Wars Squadrons. We would fly on Star Wars Squadrons, and we would have a blast broadcasting the game for the first time.
Right.
Didn't happen. We had major sound quality problems on my end. I didn't know what I was doing, and this is the first times, right? And I had
Hmm.
it figured out way before, so this was like, what did I do? Second plan B was all right. You play Star Wars Squadrons. I'll do the giveaways, and I'll attempt to play Star Wars Squadrons. Plan B didn't work because the attempt was just not there. The Star Wars Squadrons did not want to audiolize itself on my screen. Turned out it was just
Oh yeah. Oh
it was
really?
just the motherboard had a problem with it, and we fixed it up. It was just a bent pin. um, we ended up fixing that.
Hmm.
Plan C was the way we went. So how it worked was JK did all of the Star Wars Squadron stuff.
Hmm.
I did purely giveaways because the only thing that was working was my mic. I was like, all right, I
Hmm.
got a mic, I've got a camera. Let's just roll with that. And he did a fantastic job on his end. I think what did you have, like, JK, like 34, 45 people watching you that night? And on my end, I had 25 people entering into the draw to represent his area. It was a lot of fun.
Hmm.
Like it was the kickoff of the Y-Wing Guy channel and the first experiences working with a business partner. And I can tell you right now that learning experience in a nutshell
Hmm.
really formed the first block of how to carve the channel out. It was so cool.
Hmm.
First month was great. Saw a lot of growth. I will be honest. I was really, really humbled to see growth on a brand new channel this small.
Mm-hmm.
Second month was pretty awesome. I started upgrading texture layouts, my shop. Started looking into like finishing up the computer that I was building, and now it's all finished. November was a great month of production and finalizing the projects that were supposed to be done at the first month. And then December came, and it was like, oh my gosh, the TIE Defender and B-Wing are here. What do I do with this? And that's where I started dabbling more into advertising and learning more about how to use social media as a place and a blanket to warm up my channel before I even get on camera to get the engine revved up and primed. Lots of advancements, man.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I'm working a full-time job. I'm making sure my marriage is getting the amount of time I need to give it, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, the proper things. But it's just like when it came to this, the reasons why I say business is because I treat it like a business. It's remember, I'm trading my time to build something. I'm like, okay, I've got to see this from a business perspective, and that goes back to my Harris Heller and his
Mm-hmm.
influence that he put onto me. Now he doesn't like being called influencer. That's okay. His teachings that he put onto us as streamers were
Mm-hmm.
brand new. So it's like, wow, like now that I think about Poiboitv, it's like from where I am now, from where I was then, my my plans have been coming out quite flowless, like in a good flow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, January, that was our fourth month. We saw the very first like full-fledged diversion from squadrons to playing a at the end of the month different games. So we played Super Mario 64. It was a blast. I did a large giveaway on my own. Wow, that was fun. uh, Jumping back to December too, I also implemented the 3D printing program finally because my big printer finally showed up, and like I was promising my community and such, you guys get like 3D printed helmets and all that fun stuff. I started really working on what does the viewer get in return of trading their time to my channel. What
Mm-hmm.
can I do for them? What can I give them to not just stick around, but just like make this again the channel a channel iconic, different, new, and a reason to stick around.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. um,
So, so
yeah,
you mentioned that you slowly had to move more towards social media for connecting your channel. And at the start, it was a little bit more natural, right? You had people coming in because the game was fresh and new, and people really
yeah,
enjoyed
yeah.
it, and so forth. What was it about social media that really would launch you forward, right? Like get you
Uh,
forward into like spreading your business, right? Like it started to become something you wanted to do and then it became more towards a business. Tell me a little bit more about that.
so as I was progressing, I realized I needed to make a plan, and I called the phases.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on phase 27. Like that's an example where I'm at. Out
Oh
of all
wow.
27, there was like I call them mini achievements, and they're really cool to finish up. But they're like just steps that you follow. You create these steps, and then you follow them.
Mm-hmm.
Continue going, don't stop, and if you have to readjust, make a plan A, B for that one phase and choose one and stick with it and refine it later. Keep going, make your mold, create. Like it's just like this little this prototype that like you're forming your channel up, and this
Mm-hmm.
one's broken, of course. I it's too thin, but but it's like you have to look at growth as a progression of walk. You don't just suddenly become famous. You don't just become this amazing channel that I want to see. Like everybody does the same thing. What are
Mm-hmm.
you doing as a streamer that differentiates yourself from everyone else?
Mm-hmm.
Mine's 3D printing, Star Wars Squadrons, VR, and I offer all kinds of opportunity to gain in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't answer that, you need to work on that phase program too. So when I started using social media, that was a part that was actually phase 13, which was integrate. This is going way back in the beginning, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Integrate myself into social media and learn how to talk, learn how to walk the walk, and above all, learn how to be professional. And it's difficult, man. Oh my goodness, because there's so many things going on. People want to get political. People want to do this, do that. It's like no, ignore all that. Stick to what you want to be in the category of what your channel needs. In this case, it was Star Wars. A little bit of cosplay as well. So when it started to evolve, cosplay, Star Wars. Now I'm moving into paintball armor. Now I'm moving into miniature helmets for a desk. Like meeting new artists, being involved with an artist that creates the arts that's in the back of my shop right now.
Mm-hmm.
as a part of the tier system I got. Like that's how it evolves. And Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, they're very advantageous when you use them correctly. Staying professional in
Mm-hmm.
that mindset. If you, as soon as you go out of being this other person, that's where everything crumbles. You have to stay professional.
Right.
Question at that point, it's like, can you be professional, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
And you said keeping the politics out of it.
yes.
What does that mean? To keep the
Well, that
politics out.
honestly means you got to keep the Trump talks out.
Mm.
Everyone at the time was talking about Trump. I've had some people jump into my stream, even on when I was flying around, and I would say, I said one thing about Trump, and all of a sudden, bum, 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 like it just started spurring. I'm like,
Mm.
okay, that was a bad move. And this was in November, by the way. This is when emotions
Right.
were high, and I was just like, all right, I can't do that. I want to talk about it, but as a professional standpoint, is it healthy for my channel to go that route? If you're going to raise this channel like a child, are you going to fill it with drama? Are you going
Mm.
to fill it with the politics of tomorrow? Or are you going to fill it with the things it needs to grow? In this case, Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
cosplay, the events of how 3D printing and involvement is.
Mm.
Good stuff. And again, that also relates back to, are you being a good positive influence, or not influencer, good positive example for those who are watching you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love being that way. I love being that example. I'm like, hey, that Y-wing guy does not call people out. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't say, I don't like Poiboitv because he shot me down. I says, you know what? Good job. You shot me down. And sometimes I will admit you shot me down. I'll be like, oh, I can feel it. I'm feeling that like, grrr. But I suck up my pride. And I'm like, you know what? You got me, man. Good shot. And it took me a while to perfect that. Not
Mm-hmm.
perfect it, but like progress it, because there, again, that competitive side, I don't want to admit that I lost. It's just like every male that wants to be on top is like, fuck! Like they just get that rage. But if you are able to divert that rage and to turn it into something positive, saying, you know what, Poi Boy got me. He got that triple shot.
Mm-hmm.
He caught me off guard. Good shot. And you say that online, you not only change your mindset of being a good player, but your professionalism as a competitive player, even though I'm not a competitive player, evolves as well into a good thing. You get rid of the ego aspect.
Mm-hmm. And you maintain that positive energy as
That's
well
right.
as facilitating the conversation in your chat as well as gaming. So you kind of have that multifaceted type of role here online. Is that you're redirecting conversation here, redirecting conversation in comms, redirecting your mindset and this competitive
It's
mindset to having fun. So
constantly flowing, bro. It
constantly
becomes
flowing.
natural. It comes natural as you practice it.
Mm-hmm.
There's times where I was getting shot down by the same guy, and I could tell he was getting on my nerves, but instead I was like, just bite the dust and do it. Just turn to something new, and I would just go into a bombing run, and all of a sudden we win the game, and I completely forgot about that guy. But I would say at the end, GG. That team played really hard. Last night we had a great stream. I'll tell you this: we won 3 and we lost 3.
Mm-hmm.
If someone was watching that stream, please correct me. That was such a fun experience because I was playing with brand new players from my community. I had No Speed with me. I had Midnight 8989, and I had T Jam 3. The first time I ever flew with these guys, except for Midnight, I flew with her quite regularly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like these people I've never played with before. Usually I'm flying with Omega Mando or like some well-known person that comes to my channel and we fly together. No, these were
Mm-hmm.
brand new, and I says, I feel like I'm at the point where I can be an example for them.
Mm-hmm.
How do I control my thoughts? How do I control my words? How do I control my skills and project that onto them so they can emulate that and become something better on their own terms in the gaming world? Like, sure, it's just a gaming world to some of you, but guess what? It counts. It's real. We are human beings. We're going to experience things in different varieties, and gaming is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and I think that it's kind of like on the go type of thing. You know,
So
because there's so many things going on within yourself that you don't express towards the chat, but there's certain things that you redirect your chat towards, and when things don't go your way, then you have they your viewers can actually see how you redirect your attention.
oh
Okay,
yeah.
from kills to okay, so what's the objective now? What are we doing? Oh wow, nice job getting that kill, Amanda. Good job. Like it's
Yeah,
just
it's
so
like,
quick, and then I see that ADHD too when you do
yeah,
that.
it's so like the ADHD is a bit of an advantage at that point because you're
Yes,
able to act on it.
yes, exactly.
It's like boom, instant awesome. Let's go with that. I will say though, okay, so this was back in phase. I think it was phase 20. I started to have moderators in my Discord. So just going into the social media thing again. I
Mhm.
made a mistake. I took the wrong aspect of how to be a leader from like my past experiences being an air cadet back when I was a kid or a teenager and all that jazz. I took that kind of militaristic lifestyle and I said, I'm going to apply it to my Discord. And I ended up actually pushing buttons. Like I didn't talk to my men properly. I just gave them an order and they were just like kind of disconnected from me. And I
Mhm.
realized I'm like, when I did that, I went from being Adam to being Kylo Ren. Like just go with that. I no longer was in control of being professional. I was now just being a dictator. And yes, you can argue with me on that. You can say like, "Hey, that's part of running a channel. You're the boss." I'm like, you know what? I am the boss. But there's one thing that my cadet training back when I was a teenager taught me was you have to involve those who are growing with you. You can't just be like, "Here's my picture, do it."
Mhm.
If they don't know how to do it, they're not going to do it, or they're going to live up to the expectations of the picture. Instead,
Mhm.
I'm going to be there with them, walking the walk, talking the talk, and learning how to integrate myself with them. And I ended up losing 2 moderators because of that approach. And I
Mhm.
realized I sat down. I'm like, I feel like shit.
Mhm.
Excuse my language.
No, it's fun.
I feel like crap doing like that. That is not like if as soon as you feel like crap doing that, yes, there's a learning experience from that, all that jazz. But that's how you start to look at what you did wrong. And you have 2 options. You can just be egotistic and be like, well, too bad.
Mhm.
Or you look at it and says, what can I do to make that better? What can I do again to shoot to be a better leader for these people? Because they're donating their time to me. Like I don't even pay them. They're just there. They're invested in my channel. And if I treat them like shit, who am
Right.
I to blame them for leaving?
Mhm. Right. Exactly.
Like I no worries. We built the bridges again. I apologized to them. Like I felt like crap.
Mhm.
I will be meeting actually one of them in real life just to like give them a rebel coin and shake of the hand. Like, hey, I was wrong. Like, and honest. And if she's here, that's awesome. If not, it's on the way. But it's just like you have like as a leader, as a builder, and as I'll go be honest, the CEO, you have to take responsibility of your actions. I'm not saying that if you have to put a corporate down and like someone's like screwing around, you got to put your foot down. That's fine. Do it.
Mhm.
But if you are I'm going to be the dick in the room or another dick in the sea, don't expect people to like you.
Right. Right. Exactly. So when and again, you were kind of mediating relationships online and whatnot, right? Let's talk about offline. When you were starting to stream, right, and you kind of passed around the idea of being a streamer, what did your wife think, and what did your parents think about you being a streamer?
Well, she gave me 3 months. She goes, Adam, I know we're out of debt, and I know you've been saving up, and I know you paid for all this stuff. But if it fails, I want you to sell all this.
Okay.
And I totally understand her perspective. Her perspective was, is this going to affect our marriage? Where are you going to be if we have a kid? Are you going to be the man I need you to be in this marriage and to lead us into, to whatever we go for? Like we're professing Christians, so we also have some religious and biblical morals to follow as well. So
Mm-hmm.
there is a lot on the line when this was here. I was like, social media can get dangerous for any of close relationships to
Mm-hmm.
being swatted or whatever it may be. Like there is a risk to that. And I
Mm-hmm.
says, you know what, hun, you're right. If this doesn't work in 3 months, I'll sell everything. I promise. Thankfully, within 29 days, we became affiliated.
Yeah.
Yeah, 29 days, we were like, bam, affiliated. I remember I was at work and someone in the JK's chat, Strat says, hey, let's get that Y-Wing guy up to 50 because I was like at 40 at that time. And I watched it happen over like in a course of 1 hour. And I got the email that night and I had on my wall that's outside my shop right now. There is the email in paper format put into a into a what you call a frame
Mm-hmm.
signifying the first achievement in 10 years. In 10 years with this junky economy, I was able to see something come to life.
Mm-hmm.
No education required. No debt. I was surprised, and it was like, I looked at my wife and I says, "Okay, I made it." And she looked at me. She goes, "What does this mean now?" And all she wants to hear is the numbers at this point. She
Mm-hmm.
goes, "What does this mean?" I'm like, "It means we get paid." I just kept it simple. And she goes, "Oh, I like that." And I don't blame her because she's not involved with this. So in her world, she's like, "I don't get it,"
Mm-hmm.
but
So
that's okay.
so as long as there's growth and there's some foreseeable growth, and I know Twitch has its own internal analytics where you can see how your stream or your channel has grown over time. As long as that's progressing, you can start to integrate yourself a little bit more every day, right?
It also creates a drive to explore and be creative. Going back to that spatial ability with my 3D prints and my Lego, how was those models built? It started off with a single brick and a drawing. It just keeps leveling up over time. And remember, a character creation for those who play RPGs and such doesn't start out level 100. It starts at level 1, and you get the form how it works. And that's what I
Mm-hmm.
love about this entire opportunity on this platform is you can design it any way you want. We live in a boomer world, I'm not going to lie, and I'm actually not a fan of it. I hate it. It's one of the main reasons why I'm not a pilot today.
Mm-hmm.
And I see this as the opportunity that a millennial or a Gen Z or even an 80s kid would be like, I'm jumping on this because we live in such a this way or the highway life. And showing this to my wife, saying there's progression, there's real substance. We're not working a 9 to 5. We're actually having fun doing it. Like, it brings a smile to my face to be on camera. It brings a smile to my face to be in this place that was created with my bare hands.
Mm-hmm.
And no one can dictate that.
Did
That's the joy. I love having that.
did you tell
So,
your did you tell your parents about you streaming?
oh yeah, my dad would do, my dad was just like, all right, whatever that is. And my mom's, bless her heart, she survived a stroke 2 years ago, by the way, so she's okay. Her speech has come back. She just kind of says that's cool, but she gets it because she like I feel that I get a lot of my personality from her uppity life.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, my dad's more of a Spocky kind of guy, logical. My mom is the Captain Kirk of her life. Very fun, excited, great, has a great smile and such. So I was just like, my mom gets it.
Mm-hmm.
She's very quiet about it, but she gets it.
I so I know earlier you mentioned that you wanted to kind of pass on questions about your parents, but it seemed like there's a lot of positivity here. They were very flexible and they were really understanding of what you wanted to do and where you wanted to take your life. It felt like.
uh, yes and no. I mean, like, they're like the relationship between my mom and my dad, for instance, is like I have to stay logical when I'm talking to him, for instance, because he
Uh-huh.
sees things as like, you do this, you do this, you get that, and that kind of stuff. And I get that. I got that mindset as well. It's kind of two worlds I got to deal with, and with ADHD, it can be annoying.
Yeah.
Like, keep going back and forth. But it's just like with my dad, when I talk to him about this stuff, yeah, we did argue. That's fine.
Hmm.
But I also told him about what this channel can do, what it can do to bring, say, my 3D printing business aspirations, to make that happen, what it could do for that, or honestly, the son father relationship part. Like, that's something I'm not going to get into that. By the way, that's getting a little down there, but
Hmm.
it's just that was an opportunity to let that flourish. And I believe, like, at this point, it is what it is. I like, my dad doesn't watch my channel. That's totally understandable. They got limited internet for where they are. Every once in a while, I'll call him up. I'm like, hey, Dad, I flew a guy against a guy named Poiboitv. Let's go with this one. This is actually when I faced against you and a few other guys. I can't remember their names, but I called him up and I says, hey, Dad, I actually flew against Poiboitv, and I was on Star Wars Squadrons. And the relationship with Squadrons and him is he played the X-wing games back in the day.
Hmm.
Get that? Aha! So there's a connection. And my dad was like, "Oh yeah, well, what ship did they use?" I'm like, "Oh, he was flying an X-wing, and he was a pain in the ass to shoot down. I couldn't get him. What's your advice?" And he goes, "Well, did you do a barrel roll?" Of course, I sit on my phone. I'm like, "Really? A Star Fox reference? Come on!" That's
I
like,
I
It
feel
was
so
it,
humbled, man. You mentioned me to your parents. I feel like their
I'm not
friend
kidding.
already.
Like I once in a while I do talk about like my Star Wars experiences, and I'll bring up like some of the best. Like my favorite one was when I faced Scalp Waka for the first time. It was
Mm,
me, a friend that I knew in real life, Midnight '89, and Mando, or was it Mando? There was four of us, and we
mhm,
put them on for their work. Like we were making them work for those gens. Then
mhm.
we took out, they took out our frigates, we took out their frigates, and we were. It was such a close game, but that game alone just blew me away. And I called my dad up, and I says, Dad, I just faced against the best pilot on Twitch. And he kind of scoffed at that. He goes, well, he probably just says that. I'm like, no, he is the best pilot on Twitch. He says it on his streams, and he walks that walk.
Mhm.
Holy crap, is he good? Like I just talked about it. Like I vented in a good way. And he's really into it as well, because can you imagine what it would have been like in his time when he was, my age and he's playing X-Wing?
Mhm. Exactly.
Man, where could this go if I could face someone in real life?
Mhm.
I can't wait to the day that he gets to come down after COVID, because I want him to try all this finally.
I know,
So
right? I know.
it's gonna be like, that's gonna be a really cool experience, seeing an '80s guy play Star Wars Squadrons.
And you mentioned a pretty cool point is that you started to integrate yourself online too when you were gaming. Not even just when you were streaming and talking to people, but when you were playing online and people saw this name, you integrated your kind of like your personality in this ship, whether it's a Y-wing or an X-wing or whatever it may be. And you started to find that like people started to like the way you flew and started to be
Yeah.
like, oh wow, like this guy is actually pretty good.
Scott Walker even once said, I went to his chat. He goes, "GG, man, I was really disappointed you didn't fly the Y wing in that
Yeah.
match. That was the match I'm telling you about." And I says, "You know what? I should have done that. Good point. But you know what? Great match, man. I didn't expect any less." Like it's just, when it comes to my channel. Mind if we go on to the topic of that double life that I was talking about?
Sure, go for it.
When it comes to my channel, there was a danger I did recognize way earlier, and that was the danger of a double lifestyle. Again, that
Mm,
can affect marriages, it can affect friendships, it can affect yourself, who even create a false identity.
mm-hmm.
Um, Actors have explained that a good one is actually the character of Joker. We all wonder why Heath Ledger died, but there's been rumors that he died because he was so involved with that dark character. He literally enveloped into his mind, and he became that character. At least for what I understand. I understand he like overdosed. This was years ago, but it's like actors go through this situation where they have to, after the show is done and the curtains have closed, they got to cut themselves off from that character and rebuild who they are, and they get better
Mm,
at it over time. I experienced this once
mm,
back in high school. I used to work as a part timer as a theater tech, and
mm-hmm.
all I do is like make sure the lighting was good, on the screen, make sure like everything that we do as streamers in a nutshell on a larger scale,
Mm-hmm.
in the behind the scenes to make the magic happen.
Mm-hmm.
And one time there was a show called Footloose. It just came out. I was in band, whatever. My best friend can tell you all about it. I was a bass drum, if you want to know.
Mm.
Ooh, I hit the drum. ADHD. It was a lot of fun with that. Just going crazy with it. But anyways, my teacher at the time, he was actually a professional. He could teach Broadway and such, but he's at a high school level. And he kind of out of nowhere came in to me and he says, "I want you to play this part." And it was just this woman. I don't remember her name, but I had to act as this woman. So I had to get into her and just like see this weird groove. And I had 10 minutes to learn the lines. And I'm like, oh man, I'm a tech. I don't know what I'm doing. Whatever, go with it. Have fun. What's the worst you can do? You're on parades. You got medals. You're in uniform. What's the difference? Well, I decided to play as that girl, and I had a little bit of a lisp, and I had a lot of fun with it. And then I had a little bit of a cigar, and I grabbed a marker and all that jazz, and I went crazy with it. And yes, I did just change my voice.
Mm-hmm.
I had such a lot of fun with that. He actually gave me a 4-line part in that Footloose production. I was playing a character named Lyle. He was an asshole
Mm-hmm.
who eventually becomes part of the protagonist from antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
And all he said was, "Hey, Cranston, what are you doing with the preacher's daughter?" I love that character because there was progression, there was growth.
for such a minor role, but he was part of the puzzle, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like just another piece to make this whole picture work. So I
Mm-hmm.
played this character. His name was Lyle, and I actually got to chase off the main character and attempt to punch him and jazz. Um, I got to sing. I got to express this character Lyle through dance, song, and lines.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first time I actually ever dealt with that potential double lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
that second identity. Again, going back to the Facebook conversation, it's so easy to create your own character, to put all the good stuff, but forget about the bad.
Mm-hmm.
For the Lyle character, he was a mixture of the good and the bad. How he goes from this jackass guy who hung out with the antagonist and was a bully to hanging out with the protagonist in the end and end up dancing his life away in good times.
Mm-hmm.
And I did find myself after 6 months of production, and then of course like a month of the show,
Mm-hmm.
I did find myself kind of becoming that character. I was
Right.
this Lyle guy. I had to give my head a shake. I'm like, I'm 18 years old. What am I doing? I'm not Lyle. I'm Adam. Who was Adam again? And I had to I literally jot down notes to understand who I was, so I could
Mm-hmm.
look back at it. I was like, oh yeah, that's who I am. It's that Persuado identity that can really, if you're not careful, can overtake your life. You ever Leonard Nimoy? Read the book I Am Not Spock, and then read the other book, I Am Spock, and you'll see how Leonard Nimoy had to deal with this dual personality. He was in real life, he was a great guy. He went through a lot. He dealt with alcohol abuse, and he served in the National Guard. He did a lot of things. He was the jack of all trades dad,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a Jewish background on top of that, which is really cool what he did with that. But he literally argued with the real character in that book, Spock, the person he played as for years up until he died. And slowly, he integrated Spock into his life, and he ended up accepting Spock into his life as a part of his identity, like a fusion, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. No, it makes a
so
lot
we,
of sense.
so with the Y-Wing Guy channel, I had to make sure that I approached this channel as Adam, purely Adam, with the
Mm-hmm.
Y-Wing Guy name attached, because Adam is the Y-Wing Guy. My
Mm-hmm.
persona, my excitedness is here and outside of stream, off camera and on camera. There is no difference. There's no, hey, I'm a happy smile, but off camera, I'm like this repulsive dick.
Mm-hmm.
That's the lifestyle that will progress. You are authentic at that point. People will turn to you, be like, how do you do what you do? Because I'm struggling with it. And you're able to say, watch this and learn, or let me guide your hands, or here's a quote that I got from Spock. Like, it's such a cool experience to be able to be me on camera, but on
Mm-hmm.
top of that, be me outside of camera. Like, my wife hasn't seen a change. She's like, you're still Adam. I'm like, I know. Isn't that great?
So you try to stay you try to stay your true self on and off. You don't like to have any differentiation between the two. Your persona is pretty much your true self. Is that
Yep. And that,
kind of what you're
and
getting
that
to?
all started with accepting that not everybody's going to like you.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. I'm not going to like some people, and they're not going to like me. Move on. What's the worst that can happen? Someone says, there's Adam. I don't like him. He does Twitch. Well, so be it. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
That's their loss. There is 4.5 trillion people on this, and that's a guesstimated number, by the way. I don't know. But it's like, there's so many people on this planet. You can't have everyone hate you. Like, come on.
Right.
Not everyone's gonna like you. I had people come up to my face in the past and be like, you're this and that. I'm not going to repeat what they said. And I just nodded. I'm like, okay, that's all right, bro. I'm not going to wish you hate, because you have enough of that in your life. But what I can do is still be me, and maybe, just maybe, have an influence on your life that when you do decide to change, you know who to go to about it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
always an open book. Not completely, but a lot of it, yes. Yes.
So
So,
it's about accepting that not everybody will enjoy that personality. And was there a point in streaming that you were like, yeah, this is who I am and this is what I'm sticking to, and if
oh
you're
yeah.
not if you don't really accept that, then there's other streamers out there that might meet your needs, but this is what the channel's all about. Is there any time where that came out as like a true fact?
Um, like for instance, Poiboy. Here's a fun fact and secret that I had for a long time. I'm going to tell you just to be honest. I was following your channel for a while and actually competing against you in your follower count for a while. This is back in November. I found myself checking your channel. I was like using your numbers and seeing if I can compare notes and see if I could beat you. I realized that was toxic. It was so toxic because what it did is it created Poiboy in my brain, and I squished you down and be like, "You're this small to me." I'm being honest, man. That was such a toxic idea. And I look back, like I flew with you, I hung out with you on the channel, and I thought to myself, I'm like, why am I being addicted to this guy? He doesn't even know that.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
I have to stop what I'm doing and refocus. What does Adam do? And then again, I found myself like Adam is an encouraging guy. He's not he doesn't squish people. Yes, he's competitive, but he doesn't take down people. A good example of this is when I was in my biathlon. I used to skate ski when I was in my teens. I used to skate ski and shoot rifles at the same time. It was a lot of fun. Loved it. I grew up in the Great White North, if you want to know. I know my sporting pretty well. And there was this moment where I always go back to this when I want to put people down and make them feel small. But there was this moment where I had this skier. I was going up a hill just at the same as I am. We're doing our skis and we're going up the hill. And he trips. At the top of the hill, he falls, just flat, face plant. I could have kept going. I knew what he was doing. He was racing against me. And I stopped, picked him back up, and he goes, "Dude, you're ahead of me. What are you doing?" I'm like, "It's not me. It's the time you're racing. Get your ass in gear, man." I took away my ego, and I took away the possibility that, yeah, I'll be miles ahead of this guy, even a possible gold medal. Like, this kid was good. And instead, I took that, threw it away, and said, "That's enough. Don't think that way," because we all know where that goes. And I picked him up, and it says, "It's not me. It's the time. That's my secret. Go." He came in second place. And he gave me a handshake after. He goes, "Dude, I didn't even know that that's what was holding me back," because he was trying to progress. But he was chasing the wrong thing. I said, "It's not me, man. You're chasing skiers. They're not looking at you. They're looking at their time." Yes, I did get gold medal that year. I'm going to brag. I got gold. I was super excited. I'm like, yeah, I worked my ass off for that. But seeing him progress just because of that one realization made it all the difference. I'm like, that's where true competitiveness lies. And when I was doing that to you in my head, I had to take my steps back and be like, what am I doing? Here you are now, 400 followers. And I'm like, good job, man. Rock on.
So I have a question for you. So that is a change of how you evaluated the stream as well. Not even just personal gain to other personal gain or to somebody else's personal gain, but it's also how you evaluated the stream and growth, right? So how do you evaluate your goals for the stream in comparison to how you used to evaluate it?
All right. So now I evaluate it on not a case by case basis, but more of a monthly basis. Like I jot down things of like, what have I done good? What have I done bad? And what needs improvement? And then on top of that is what is great about this month. Last month, let's go with that. Last month was great. We introduced the Tuesday game day formula. This is adventuring out of Star Wars Squadrons and allowing the Y-Wing-Guy channel to adventure into new topics, allow like brand new games to come in, like Halo 6. If that shows up, I will have the breathing room to do it. And it allows my mods to have fun. Allows the community to have fun. It's not just Star Wars Squadrons at this point. It's a fun place to hang out. You're in my shop, in my studio, hanging out. We're having fun. We're being dudes, we're being gals, and we're just loving life. And we're having fun for 4 or 5 hours. And the accomplishment there was, the good was, I have my moderators shooting me in a game or, you know, making fun of me. Let them do that, because you are the boss. And there are some things where, you know, there's some things I said, I'm going to allow them to have that fun vent, because that builds them up. That also builds them the courage to say, okay, man, I've got all that crap out of me. What's the next goal? Like, it's such a cool experience.
So
the bad side was,
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
The bad side was my variety of gaming, from like PC to Xbox. I was like, I got to figure out, what do I need to stick with? I'm still trying to figure that out. That's the bad, and that's the improvement is it's a new thing. It's something new and it's exciting, and the channel is able to evolve. That was last month.
Still working on this month.
So you start to focus more on entertainment purposes rather than having an edge on other people on online. You're starting to focus more on the enjoyment of your followers and of your mods, as you mentioned, and the content that you provide, right?
Yep.
So has that changed the content, like the way that you've evaluated your own content? Has that changed the way that you want to provide content for your viewers?
Good question. So going back to when I was building the channel, I had to create substance for the people. It's like, okay, if they're going to invest time into my channel, they're going to invest money and style. How am I supposed to approach this? Well, it's an entertainment system. We are going to be actors. We're going to be inspirers, whatever. We are there on camera. People are going to watch us. What is the value of your stream? Are you going to treat it just like a stream, or are you going to treat it like a business? And I'm talking about entertainment businesses like TV shows. If everybody want to watch Star Wars, they would run to Disney Plus right now and be like Mandalorian because they love it. It's got substance, it's got grit, it's got realizations, it's got growth, it's got characters who are there and will not be in the future. Like, it's got drama, but it's got so much juice to it that people are invested into it. My channel started off with physical items. So here it is. My channel started off with the tier system. In the tier 1 system, I'm gonna broadcast this a little bit. My tier 1 systems have these little coins. It's like, what can I add to the viewer? To, even if they're lurking, I don't care. How can I convince them to hang out with me? Well, you got to offer something in return.
Right.
Entertainment value is there. Star Wars Squadrons, cool beans. Let me look at that for a second. Just hear my printers going off. Entertainment value is there. Cool. I've got the suit, I've got the shirt, I've got my mind, and I've got Adam in there. Like, he's there. But what are people getting out of this? And I started to go down the avenue of physical items, and I thought, 3D printing combine your 3D printing. What can I do for them that would make sense? Of course, talking to Bill, 3D printed helmets. Oh no, he was about the shirt. Brian, I said 3D printed helmets, and he said, "Oh my God, I would still watch your channel for that." Even if I was boring, it gives them a reason to be there. It's again, I have progression. What gives them to progress? They're giving you your time, so this is in the give back. Like, this here is a prototype tier 2 helmet that I'm working on, and yes, this will be sent off to my to my collaborator artist, who's provided me with amazing stuff for my tier 2 stuff. But as a way to say thank you, and yes, it's using technically you could say I'm getting paid. So what? It is what it is. You're paying to have these items, but you're also getting digital content. You're getting subscriber statuses. You're getting icons. You're getting my fullest thank you from myself, and my deepest respect for investing into my dream of creating a 3D printing business. Like, this is the start. That's where it all started, was what can I give back to the community? I've got 8 helmets. I actually had to stop my tier 3s because I was getting way too many orders. I got a printer down there. There's a second one, a third one on the way. I was going to be right in this corner just to up the production. But I said, okay, for tier 3, this is what you get. You get all the digital items from tier 1 and 2. You get the art, a big ass coin. It's back there. It's on the bench. And of course, a 3D printed helmet, one time only, of your choice. That's like $25. That's a $200 job. Like, that Boba Fett helmet right there, that is going to be a swag like item to have in your shop. Like, on your wall, handouts, the lights. There's going to be a light inside just to show off the visor. I'm praying that person will be like, that is the coolest investment I've ever for $25. And that's a $200 job. Right. If you're going to commission for me, yeah, I would throw the real price at you. But I would always say there is an easier way. I wouldn't not mention my channel because it's intertwined with the 3D printing business, but it's because it's an opportunity for that person to experience what I have, that desire to make these things, right? Like, who gets to have a stormtrooper helmet nowadays? A few people do. Yes, there's like people on eBay that sell that stuff. That's cool. But to actually have someone integrate and be like, all right, we're going to fit your head. We're going to paint it the way you want it, and we're going to put a visor in it, and I pray to God it fits because you deserve this for following my channel. And the story.
That's the business perspective I have, is what am I giving back to them? Sorry, I just went to the juicy apple there.
Right, but you started. It sounds like you went from starting off with how would you advertise your personality to how would you advertise like a marketing value through your stream, and it seemed like
That's
you
right.
found and you integrated both of that using the 3D printer of okay, well, I like helmets, like I like using them, so here we go, we're gonna start creating helmets and we're gonna start creating a business, a model for that using the tier systems. Very cool. Very awesome.
Yeah. I encourage any streamer out there to explore those avenues because it gets fun. JK Strat here, he just recently got a 3D printer, and I was excited for him. I'm like, dude, congrats. And we sat down, we talked. He's got the same model as I do, Snapmaker, if you guys want to know. And we went through and calibrated it, but now he's able to offer that for his stream. And I can see the joy he's got. Like, we were talking on the phone, and he was just like all giddy when he says, "Man, this was all a concept 5 months ago. Now look where it is." Like, he's just so excited. The growth is there, and the building of this lifestyle is becoming a thing. It's only upwards from there if you continue going. I could stop right now and be just fine, but I actually want to quit my job one day because of this. I want to be able to see my family a lot more. I want to be able to say, I'm going to a convention. I'll see you in a day, hun. Be right back. Shake the hands of those who follow me and be inspiration, like
Um,
Steve Jobs or whatever.
so now that you've had some success here with these with this marketing model or business model, have you ever felt a sense of doubt in your success and what you've
Oh,
been doing it?
oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, I get them once in a while. It's a real thing. Streamers will. I will say this, and I've talked to other streamers. Streamers will go through a sense of I fucking suck. You will get that out of nowhere. Just bam. One day you're changing oil on a vehicle and you're just like, I bet no one's going to watch me tonight. I'm so
Mhm.
boring, because you start like evaluating what you did last time and you start thinking about the same stuff you're going to do. And you're like, ugh, I'm just not doing anything. That has hit me a few times. How do you deal with it? You ignore it. You push
Mhm.
forward. Allow yourself to take a walk. Let your mind create something new and explore it. It's a very lonely journey. I'm not kidding. I'm in front of you right now. I'm in my shop. My wife is watching a TV show, possibly
Mhm.
me as well, and I'm alone. It's just me. It's kind of nice. I don't mind it. It's like my brain isn't going crazy with like dealing with conversations while I'm also doing this, because ADHD is a bitch. But it's like I get to be me, and I'm comfortable doing this. Some people are not. Some people need to have that partner beside them to bounce ideas back and forth on camera, and then boom, here's my idea. Let's go with it. Kind of, like how Pumbaa and Timon work. Same idea. Some people work like that,
Mhm.
and then like Pumbaa's like, wasn't I the one who like gave the idea? But Timon's like totally taking the full advantage of it. He's like, yeah, I got this idea. Like,
Wh-
it's,
What
it's a
is
great. Go
what
ahead.
is that feeling? Is that sense of loneliness? You said, I mean, you know, you're streaming and people are watching all the time, but you still feel alone. What is that like?
All right, so back wait, let's go back to the 90s, okay? I love Star Wars. I love flying. I love doing all that kind of things. You could say that I was an outcast. Very few friends. That's all right. Whatever. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Uh oh.
you, oh, did we lose you?
No, no, no. I'm still here. Did you? Uh,
Oh, hang on, hang on. I think my phone might be overheating.
oh,
Yep, it's overheating.
oh, okay.
Yep. Sorry about that. I might have to go off screen here.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
Yep,
Well,
it's
we can.
overheating. I can feel it.
Yeah, call me.
So,
Call. Go ahead. Sorry. Oh, wait. You might be working. Oh.
no. The phone's off. It's not working right now. So my audio is working fine.
Okay.
So that's actually one of my next investments is that's a webcam. Um, so when I'm pushing forward to create a lifestyle, I have to remember that I started out alone and I was an outcast, because when we were like, I don't know what it's like now in school and jazz, but school has a big part of your life that dictates who is involved with you, and your friend mindset, even your mental aspect. I love Star Wars and flying so much that, again, I would drive people away because it's like that's sometimes all I would talk about or whatever.
Mm.
And it's a lonely lifestyle. Like, outcasts are usually people who do not conform to the regular yes and no's, like the jocks to the popular women, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that really, really, like, it kind of drove me away from that. Just like really integrate with myself with certain people. Like, I would like the double lifestyle thing. That was totally involved with the jocks, man. They would go home depressed, but they come to school all buff, hanging out with their friends because that's what they relied on, was the positivity of their friends. But by themselves, they couldn't upgrade, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I just never really found interest into that. For me, yes, the loneliness is still there. Like, I'm by myself. I'm streaming. I'm performing and having fun with people that like the same stuff as I do.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't like it, well, whatever. It is what it is. A raid is a blessing to me. It's like, wow, there's people here I get to meet right now, whether they like Star Wars or not. And it's okay if they leave. That's all right. It's a lonely lifestyle because you accept that not everyone's going to like you. And that's okay.
Yeah, it's like managing other people's personalities to yours, and sometimes you feel like you might be alone with your personality and with what you give out, but you're still hopeful to what you might find, right? Oh, hello.
Yeah, we got it back. I was just fixing it.
Oh, awesome.
Phase 15. Figure out technical know-hows on the fly.
Yes. Well, welcome
There we go.
back.
So,
but yeah, go ahead.
So what I mean by oh, we have some messages that were deleted here. Hope nothing volatile there. Thanks, moderator, for catching that. When it came to this whole idea of streaming and jazz, I was alone again. Like, my wife doesn't understand it. I don't have many people that are invested into it. I tell very certain people that what I'm doing, and the reasons why I told them certain people is because if you tell everybody what you're going to do, one, they're either going to say that's a stupid idea, or two, they're just going to be like, put you in the back and say, okay, whatever, I don't understand. That's okay. It is what it is, but it doesn't mean I'm not lonely. I get lonely.
Yeah.
I do my job. I go to work. I do the best I can. Like, I'm just your average human being, if you want to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But what's extraordinary about being lonely is if you act on what you do, someone will notice, especially if it's something creative. It's something that you believe in, something that you desire. Being a pilot, for instance. I have tended to be a pilot 3 times in my life. The only reason why I couldn't be a pilot in the 3rd attempt was money reasons.
Mm-hmm.
The government that supplied me the money changed a dime on me and said, Mr. Adam, you have to be careful there. Mr. Adam, I'm sorry to say this, but we changed our mind on the private pilot program. It's no longer academic.
Mm-hmm.
That burned me. I was so alone. In fact, I became homeless after that. That's a little bit of my background. 20 to 12, aspiring to be a pilot, can't do it anymore because the government that supplied you with the funds doesn't care about it.
Mm-hmm.
You're alone. I lived in my car by myself, and it was a sobering effect. Like, it was a really deep understanding of, hey, this world's not all about sunshine and jellies. There's some pretty nasty stuff out there, and someone can take that away from you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about Twitch. Who's going to take that away from me?
Mm-hmm. So
if I say the 4-letter word that we all know that's banned from Twitch, that's fine. I just won't say that.
Mm-hmm.
I can make it my own, and no one has the option of just yanking that for me, unless they try to hack in, which I do not want. Anyways, that's what I meant by bio.
Yeah, and it seemed like your loneliness is linked with your goals as well. If you didn't achieve a goal, you felt kind of alone there. You felt like isolated, like this is happening to me right now, and like everybody else is kind of moving on, but I'm kind of set back, right? And I have to kind of mediate myself and mediate my own life in order to be at what other people's levels are, where other people want to be in their own life. Everybody has their own goals, but my goals are kind of set back. And so that creates this feeling of loneliness. Yeah.
There is one thing here
Here's a good example of this. I've had to let go of some friends because of this adventure, because there's been some dark things that they in their lives weren't dealing with. Like there's some addictions and all that jazz. And I started to see that. I'm like, okay, that's not healthy. I know that's a person and I know that's their life, but how, like, this is the lonely part again. Do I approach this as, don't worry about it, he'll figure it out and just let him be? Or do I cut him off? That's a hard decision to do, man. It is super hard. I had to do that. It doesn't feel great, man. That was one of my closest friends I knew for years and years and years ago, and I actually had to do that because there was things in his life where I says, that doesn't line up with who I am and what I've worked on. This can hurt. I'm sorry. We have to split off because you're no longer a positive influence, but instead that person it affected everything from the choices they made. And I had to do what I did. And it sucks. It really does. But you move on. That's the lonely part that not many people understand, is like there are some really tough choices you got to make. There is a choice right now that hangs above. Will this Twitch channel make it? That's a question I can't answer. I do have a plan. I do have a business layout. I got all these things going on. I've got phases all the way to phase 40 at least, and I've got this dream and desire and the push and the grind to do it. But in the end, I know I will be alone in that because I have all this help. Don't get me wrong, but in a personal level, it starts with me and it ends with me. And that's the deepest question is when do I let it go? When do I finally move on? Especially when I have kids, man. That's gonna be a whole new lifestyle I'll have to adapt to someday, and I will persevere because I will be alone in that. I will have my wife, of course, and I will have my kids to look after and a good family and such. But again, it ends with me and God. I do talk to God quite a bit. I just walk around and I have conversations. It sounds kind of crazy, but it works. It's self-counseling almost, to really take a third person and talk to him, kind of like how Leonard Nimoy talked to Spock in his head.
Right.
One's logical and one's not. Get that.
So this spiritual part of you kind of helps mediate with this loneliness and with these kind of we call it neurotic traits, right? It helps you kind of evaluate your situation just to be able to open it up to a higher power, more or less.
Yeah, like I said, I'm a Christian. Like a lot of people like talk to themselves. Sometimes they place someone or a object in front of them and they talk to it. And it sounds crazy for those who don't run business and such, but it's actually quite relaxing. It's kind of like a bit of a review and that attempt to talk to the dark side of your parts, or that negative, like, I suck at this. They talk to it. It's like, what are you trying to tell me? Why are you trying to say to me that this isn't going to work? And it may come up with its own clauses and such, but it's just you and the problem or the addiction or whatever it may be. You hammer it. You get military on it. Either you do or you don't. For me, my addiction was I was a workaholic. 10 years, man. I was spending on the oil rigs to fixing planes to doing cars to auto body, working my ass off for cash, for money. It's a very, very, very empty win. There's no life in money. It's just another. It's a piece of metal that came from the planet. So we can trade it to buy things. And what do things do? It's a hollow redemption. This is completely different.
So when you mention addiction, right? We mentioned that we are taken away from some part of you to focus on another part, right? So when we say workaholic, do you use work sometimes to forget about other parts of yourself that
Oh yeah, I used to use work to kind of like not deal with my problems. This is like my early 20s, for instance. I was addicted to quite a bit of stuff. I'm not going to say what, just to be private about it. But the things I was doing, I knew were not healthy for future relationships. For instance, just point that out. And as a Christian, a lot of my, I would say, a lot of the teachings of Christ and such is a lot about is how do you deal with your addictions? I have a plan. Talk to me about it. Let's go. And if you really want to beat those, it takes effort. it takes some real sacrifice. Like there's things I've said that I really didn't want to say to certain people in my life, like mentors and such. But once I said it, it was like confronting the problem and saying, hey, I know you're there now. I'm finally talking to it. Let's go and get this done and figure it out. You like addictions are there. It's going to be there. I can be addicted to this channel and become a workaholic just to this channel and avoid my problems with my wife and all that stuff. Imagine if I did that. My marriage would break down. My wife would be like single, brokenhearted, and I would use working my ass off as a way to escape. That's a horrible lifestyle to go through. It's something that I don't ever want to do that again. And when you start becoming like the workaholic lifestyle, for instance, I started blaming boomers for what they did and like blaming the past jobs that laid me off. It's like I can only do that for so long until it's just me in the room again, because it all ends with me. I'm going to end up in the ground 6 feet under one day, and I know it's going to end with me. So when do I deal with it? A lot of regrets are usually on the deathbed. So I'd rather do it at my age where I'm at.
So have you found, so it used to be this addictive personality, right? Of I need to do something consistently in order to forget other things that, might be kind of problematic within your life or might just genuinely take you away from where you don't want to go, right? So I'm going to do
Yeah.
these certain things and take myself away. So have you found that your spirituality has kind of supplemented for it and that you were able to open yourself up a lot more because of it in order to
Yes.
stay away from those problematic, parts of yourself?
Well, let's just point this out. Like I said, I'm an open book to a lot of people I meet. Like they're not expecting me to say some really deep things. Some people are not expecting to encounter this guy who's authentic. Like, who are you? Like, the first question that anybody goes through this is, am I authentic? Am I just trying to portray a certain part of my life onto this guy, or am I authentic enough to say, yeah, I do drugs behind my wife's back? That's deep, man. It
Right.
takes balls to do that. That's accepting that you've done it and effed up and you're willing to take the mile to fix it. And not just fix it, but to adapt, to know your triggers, to know your problems. And this is getting into this deep psychology here. But what I'm trying to say is if I hadn't taken those steps years ago, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd still be working on the oil field, making $2,000 checks or extra, and probably never seeing my family because I'm addicted to things like big trucks and all the temporary crap. I don't believe in that anymore.
So have you, can I ask you something? Your wife and everything you guys are as a part of a strong relationship. Has she taught you some things about being true to yourself?
Oh yeah. Well, we all know, like, for all those married men, living with a woman is a life-changing experience. There's a lot of aspects that you don't expect to encounter until you're in the zone. It's
Right.
like some say they encountered it when they're dating. I didn't. I didn't encounter this because I wasn't living with the person at the time. Once you're involved with that person, you start to know some quirks, some things that might piss them off, some things that will like drive her bonkers. Here's a good example. Watch the YouTube channel called Mark Gungor, The Story of Two Brains, or The Tale of Two Brains. That is what revolutionized my mind in the marriage concept, because men, we're like boxes. We, in our brains, we open a box, we take the information out, we put the information back in the box, and we slowly close it, making sure nothing germs around and gets mixed in with any other category. Women are like a ball of yarn. Their minds are like spaghetti. Everything's connected. Where the toaster can explode one day, and somehow that means you don't love them. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense to them, and it's hilarious because sometimes I'll be in these conversations with my wife, and I'm like, oh boy, I hit the wrong wire because it's like this little light connected to other wires, and all of a sudden the whole brain's going blue, and I'm just like, oh crap, that's a bomb. What did I do? So it's like, it's a humbling experience because when you start recognizing that you're not the same as her and she's not the same as you, you start to develop the connection. You start to develop the trust, the bond, the understanding. And it's like, it's a humbling experience because that's when you start recognizing that you're not the same as her and she's not the same as you, you start to develop the connection. You start to develop the trust, the bond, the understanding. And it's like, it's a humbling experience because that's when you start recognizing that you're not the same as her and she's not the same as you, you start to develop the connection. You start to develop the trust, the bond, the understanding. And it's like, it's a humbling experience because that's when you start recognizing that you're not the same as her and she's not the same as you, you start to develop the connection. You start to develop the trust, the bond, the understanding. And it's like, it's a humbling experience because that's when you start recognizing that you're not the same as her and she's not the same as you, you start to develop the connection. You start to develop the trust, the bond, the understanding. And it's like, it's a humbling experience because that's when you start recognizing that you're not the same as her and she's not the same as you, you start to develop the connection. You start to develop the trust, the bond, because then you start to do things that she will like enjoy. My marriage is pretty healthy.
Mhm.
We're trying for a kid. That's our next goal. It's hard. There's been some hard conversations, but I always come on to the area of, instead of being like rough and tough and how do I deal with it, I go on to her level. I listen, and when I don't understand, I understand, because she's already spilled mindset onto me, and all I need. Sometimes I open my mouth when that's not fucking do that. So it's so cool. Oh,
Yeah, you're kind of lagging a little bit here.
Yeah, I can see the phone doing its thing.
If
doing
it's,
that.
if it's overheating, you can just take off camera and we can just do voice audio, if that
Yeah,
works.
it's got the program. It's pretty janky.
Uh,
Um,
can you? So you mentioned something very important. You said connecting with somebody you love, but connecting with their differences, right? Like we always talk about things that we connect with somebody else that is similar to your own personality, connecting to their like you love Star Wars, I love Star Wars too. You love tacos, I love tacos too. But like even connecting to their differences. Oh, you like wine? Well, I'm a whiskey guy, so there's things that there's it's like there's opportunities there to be able to integrate yourself with that person, even in those differences. And it sounds like with your wife, like you found those ways of integrating yourself with her and her true self. And I think that's very important for a lot of people watching, is that when you have somebody you care about, you're not always going to be the same on all platforms, right? There's going to be those
Oh
differences,
yeah,
but
it's
it's
going to be
right.
different levels that you have to understand. And as guys, again, we're categoristic creatures. It's
Mm-hmm.
not everybody, not every guy, but the majority of us. I know I am. I have a box for my brain. It's very easy for us to kind of go into what we call a nothing state.
Mm-hmm.
Women hate this. It's called the nothing box. This is what men love. Don't you love waking up and you're just not thinking about anything? You're just like there in this weird comatose. Your wife thinks you're dead.
um so why don't we start focusing on the future here, and let's start focusing on things that you are looking forward to as a streamer. Hmm?
Yeah.
In the next year, what are those aspirations looking like for the stream?
All right. So good question. Since we're at, I have a 40 phase count and I'm on phase 27.
Yeah.
Working. I know you. Everyone is up with you in phases. I'm like, trust the plan I follow. I make it happen. That's just how it works.
There's multiple boss levels.
Exactly. You get it. There's
Right.
multiple boss. Month is like taking on a new Genghis Kong.
Right.
So it's like, and let's say 5 years. Let's go 5 years. I'm actually hoping he as cool as Harris Heller, and maybe as popular as Ninja, but also as inspiring as Jay's 2 Cents. If people watch him on YouTube, he's a guy who works with computers, builds water cooled parts. I love that guy. That's how he started. Or as influential as Linus Tech Tips, a guy who also runs another computer thing, or as intelligent as my father. My channel will reflect all of that. Integrations, and how will this channel work around me? How can I help them? Like, for instance, JK Strats, when I first met him, he was struggling. He didn't know how to grow his channel until we both talked about the business mindset. Dude, the guy's doing great now. He's at 600 followers. When I met him, he was at 200. He's at 600 now, and that was 5 months ago. No, 6 months ago. Sorry. That's incredible. That's close to a 200% in mathematical terms. On top of that, he's retaining that, and he's helping others. It just like, imagine layers of a spout of water with different bowls inside. It just overflows as overflowing, as what they used to say in Swedish. I think it was Sweden. Overflowing. If I'm wrong, Quote me. It's okay.
So those are some larger goals, right? Maybe in like 3 to 5 years or so forth. You want to be as influential in your stream
Yeah.
as a lot of the people out there. And we're comparing to other streamers, but you want to be unique in your own way and be
Yeah.
unique as an inspiration to others, right? But
That's and that also means like sacrificing the fame now
Mm,
to be projecting later. Like
mhm.
people don't know me. I got people in your Discord saying "Yo" and Ibby saying, "Oh my God, it's that Y-wing guy." That's cool. Like some people recognize me. I'm down with that. That's awesome. But what am I doing in their lives that would say I want to be like that guy?
Mhm.
Let's emulate him. How do I emulate? That's actually a key term that Harris Heller uses a lot. How do I emulate someone and make my stream work? Even when I was actually looking at ideas of how to run a business, I actually started with Amazon. I wanted to run an Amazon business, and I dived into it, man. I took courses, I did a lot of things, but what was I emulating? Was I emulating the people that are around me, and I wanted to be like them and make a lot of money? Well, everyone's going to do that. No, I have to emulate myself, and of course, like that idea drowned because financial reasons. Like it's a very very expensive startup. But
Mhm.
then we looked at Twitch, and I took all the experience I got from that and applied it to Twitch.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping someone would say, "Hey, remember that Y-wing guy 12 years back? What a great guy, super influential. He was talking about Poiboitv one day, and now they're talking on a channel, and they're both so progressed. I want to be like them. Like that's the hope of the future."
Mhm.
Well, like I said, we live in a boomer world right now where it's like you either perform or you don't, and
Mhm.
you suck. And you get like the boomer world is going to die away someday, but then what do we have left when that's gone?
Right.
It's going to be people like us that people are going to look up to us, millennials, Gen Zs, Zoomers,
Mm.
Gen Y, the 80s kids. They're going to be looked up to from the younger generations. Be like, how do we be like you? And the boomer lifestyle says, do as I say, but not as I do. It's a horrible experience. I want to see millennials say, I've been through this. Let me guide you. And then take them to the next step and say, like politics, and be like, okay, I'm relinquishing my seat so you can sit here and take on the next challenges of tomorrow because I've done my part. I'm done. I can't progress anymore because I've reached the heights. A
Mhm.
king can only go so far in words because he is just a king. That's why you have the word emperor because, hey, what's bigger than a king? Let's go emperor. Well, what comes after emperor? Galactic emperor? Like Palpatine, even the Wars books went through this. He's like, after I became emperor, this is in the old legends, by the way, he felt dissatisfied. He's just like, ugh, there's no more world to go. Like, what do I do? I rule everything now. And then he ended up having the empire crumble because it couldn't evolve. And
So
that's what we're experiencing today.
right, and
Sorry, I'm
there no, that's
mindset.
okay. Like, and that goes along with the general concept of what you want to bring to the general public is you want to advocate for this population that wants to seek kind of like asylum within your stream. What are some of those small goals that you have, like that things that you're working on that are helping you kind of get to that point? So like content or whether it's
I'll
like
look it up.
interactions
Actually,
with the chat.
it's so many things on the brain. I gotta actually look at my notes. Give me a sec here. I'm just pulling it up. Da-da-da-da. Let's see this one. Yeah, this one I posted on writing down easy in phases because I'm too dumb. Okay, so phase 27. Let's just go with straight up.
Okay.
Helmet build 1 month to achieve this. So this is where I hammer out my skills and learn. As I'm doing it, I'm willing to give pointers. I'm willing to reach out to people who do this for a living and hey man, my name's Adam. This is what I'm doing. What do you do to make it possible? And what are some tips and tricks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Phase 28. Investigate website for the future.
Mm-hmm.
How's this channel going to bring in income? And that is a serious question. Anybody that hates streamers that making money, too damn bad. We got work. This thing has to stay afloat, and financial is a part of life. I can't just work in a 9-to-5 job all my life and dream, right? You got to make it reality.
Mm-hmm.
Phase 29, YouTube channel. Start to branch off. buy some servers. I got to talk to my main moderator. It says, okay, man, we're going to be pumping out videos, but we're far away from each other. If I bought you sacrifice some money that I made and gave you a server and linked them both up on my end from yours, will this work? Can we edit at the same time and publish something? It's a concept. It's a very rough concept, by the way. Phase 30, YouTube videos, launch them, just hammer them out, learn as you go. I've already done that with my first channel, Adam's Before After Creations. I've got 11 videos up there. I stopped when I first got my very first 3D printer. I ran out of time. I burnt out.
Right.
And COVID also hit.
Yep, that happened.
So like that's just an example of channel progression. It starts out as this rough brick and just like sanding a car away or whatever. Hang on a sec here. I've got some nasty things going on. There we go. So it starts off from a simple mold or a square, and the next thing you know, you got a sphere, and then you got a head, and then it has eyeballs. Like it just keeps building if you continue to push forward. And yes, there will be hard days. I expect those days to come and hit me. I actually experienced that on Thursday. My very first technological shutdown. Internet crashed. I couldn't keep it going. My viewers I was getting raided, and all of a sudden, the internet just gone. 50, like Mr. Dazzy, if you're watching, thank you so much for that raid. But all 38 people were like, "Screw this guy." Oh, cut out. Like it's just like, how do I deal with that? Like the stress was there. I dealt with it. And I learned. It turns out it was just my modem. I had to turn it off and turn it on. There was a bit of a landline connection, and my cords were too low. I had to investigate it and learn. Big. Here we are now. Janky camera, but at least the internet's holding.
It's doing its best. I'll tell you that. It's doing its best.
I can see the heat. My phone's looking at me in anger right now.
So, is there anything coming up on your schedule that might impact your stream at all, or gaming?
For gaming, definitely some big titles like Halo 6, not Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars: The Old Republic. That one I'm going to be dabbling into. I'm actually getting rid of a concept design with the Minecraft stuff because it didn't really take off, keep people attained for that. So I'm just going to get rid of it. It's like, okay, we tried that, it doesn't work. Let's move on. Maybe I'm not ready for that yet. So it's the next steps are. For the Tuesday game days, for instance, that's a new concept idea. That's just the third week. Third week was last week on Tuesday of branching out into different games and having fun. Once Halo 6 comes out, there is a risk. Once that comes out, that means, one, I have to upgrade to a new system. That's fine. I can do that. But there's a risk that people will expect me just to play Halo 6. What do I do with that? That's my biggest challenge. That I have to look at that and be like, okay, people are going to expect Halo 6. What if Squadrons dies tomorrow? That's okay. That's why we game days. I can still hop in the Squadrons and play because it's not going to die. It's just low population count. It's Star Wars. Come on. It's too valuable at this point. If that happens, I need to continue to recalibrate how the channel operates. It's like an amoeba, man. It wants to change, and I've got to go with it, but I also have to block some areas that it wants to go to because it can either harm or progress. So Halo 6 is definitely going to be a progressive stuff, but if people are just coming to watch me play Halo 6, they're not going to show up all the time, right? So what can I do when that comes around to let them know that this is a Star Wars born channel, but Tuesday game days is where Halo 6 can be played. Doesn't mean it'll be always played, but can be played.
Right.
Tips, tricks Thursdays. I'm running out of, believe it or not, I'm running out of criteria. I'm like running out of stuff to talk about, how to teach. What do I do? And I came up with a new concept design last night with my flight school with Rancor. Tandem drifting. It's something that just popped in my head. It's like, what happens when we tandem drift? Well, we could do double damage. We can synchronize up with the mathematics of the algorithm that the game gives off that allows our shots to hit people who boost gas. Right? It's like, how do I give more content than that? I'm running out of ideas. I'm hitting those walls. So it's like, there's the evolution right there. What do I Thursdays involved with Star Wars Squadrons? And of course, we have Saturday, early Star Wars Squadrons, and then flight school at 11 o'clock. That's great. I love teaching. That's actually a part of my cadet life back in the day. But the question is after all that's said and done, what does the Y-Wing guy do next? And that's a good question because you'll have to find out.
Stay tuned next time.
That's right. That's right. Another episode of Dragon Ball Z. Like, you never know. And I
So,
love the ambidextrous. Go ahead.
no, go. Okay, so I was more curious also. So you said content as well. So you said new releases also might affect it. You said squadrons adding more content for it. Your flight school as well. How about in the future? How might you improve self care and mindfulness and things that we practice to better ourselves internally?
That is a very good question, like a deep question.
Mm,
So like I said, I've been working my butt off to someday exchange my job for this in my 3D printing business.
mm,
And there is some opportunities on the horizon. I can't speak of those as out of confidentiality at the moment.
mm,
But at the current state, I want to get back into shape. My mental, like my physical fitness has been lacking in 10 years. I would love to get back into competitive biathlon again. And my main moderator and I used to compete against each other. So wouldn't it be great to actually be on the same team this time? um, there's like personal goals of reaching, I would say, the Rock status, where you see the Rock, he's like this jack dude. He's super happy, super humble. He's being interviewed for movies. Those are cool. Those are the perks of what he does. But there's a certain way he does it to continue his lifestyle, to allow himself to be where he's at today, to grow. And there's something inspirational about that. There's even a TV show coming out called Young Rock, but he had a really rough start. Like he was a football player, he got canned, and then he gets threw himself into WWE. He was finished with that. What do you do next? He did some acting, he did some really terrible shows, but he continued forward. Like he had his failures. I'm expecting that, but I'm also expecting to have a healthy lifestyle. I'm old enough to now saying that both my parents are diabetic. I don't want to go down that route with the avenue that is dangerous. But with the all I have right now of working where I'm at, like the oil that goes onto my arm dries out my arms every day. It's kind of disgusting.
mm-hmm.
I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. I know, like this is the boomer mindset. Well, just do it. It's called loyalty. That's how you get things. No, it doesn't work like that anymore. The world has evolved now where it allows you to build your lifestyle up, but in exchange, you have to go through some growing pains. I expect to go through some major growing pains once the 3D printing business is up here. But once it requires more of my time, I will have to cut off that job because, yes, it's a $900 every 2-week job, but guess what? It can't be there if it doesn't need my time. My time must be diverted to something that wants my growth. It yells, Adam, I need you here. When Star Wars Squadrons, for instance, started to take a turn and says this is our last update until contact update at least until May, my channel screamed at me. It says it's time to evolve. It can't be just Star Wars Squadrons anymore. It has to evolve. And since you're not a competitive player, you have this opportunity right now. And I said, I'm listening. I really don't want to, but I'm listening. And I did it. 3 weeks in to the Tuesday game days, we're having a blast. Sure, it's a little number count, but guess what? It is so worth it because you are able to expand again. You're allowing the channel to do its thing. It doesn't mean it's dictating your life. Sometimes it tells me I want to do this, and you're like, no, you ain't doing that.
Right.
But when it says I'm about to die, you take action now.
Right. So it's listening to those instincts, right? You have good instincts and you know it and you have years of experience with it. So you want to be able to integrate yourself a little bit more with those instincts and kind of carry yourself through into the future, given, what your own body's telling you, your body and your mind, right? So,
Dude, yeah, like there's days I wake up and I look in the mirror and I says, how the hell did I get this big? That's an honest. That's if you want a negative thought, that's one that comes through my mind every day. How did you get this big? And it's not self-defeating. I know what got me this big. It's my workaholic attitude. You work hard, have fun later. That was the mantra I used to follow. It's a terrible mantra because by the time you're old and crippled and whatever, you've seen the life out of a box and a wrench, you start to think, gee, I wish I could have ride that horse. I'm too old. I can't even walk. That's the area I don't want to be in.
you brought up, but you brought up a really good point right there. You're channeling negative thoughts. You're using your negative thoughts to encourage more positivity into your
Oh yeah,
life. It's like a fear is like a survival mechanism. You use
Yeah.
that fear in order to survive or find ways to survive in the world that you want to survive in. You find yourself pushing yourself way further than you knew that you could. And I think that's you I think I don't know if you've changed your mind since the beginning of the interview, but you said ignore those negative thoughts. But if anything,
Okay.
you're channeling your negative thoughts and you're utilizing that for bigger and
That is
better things.
that's a good point, boy. And yet, you know what? That's actually revolutionizing to me because I didn't know I was doing that.
Mm,
Maybe it's my competitive sense because I am a competitive guy. Like it is what it is. I'll take on life with the best I got.
mm-hmm,
Um, I guess what you could say is that there's some negative thoughts that come through your head, like you're stupid, you're ugly, and a lot of jazz. You can ignore those
mm-hmm,
because even though your mind is telling you that, it doesn't mean you are, unless you believe it. Unless you really truly believe that you're this ugly duckling that doesn't deserve love, that's you.
mm-hmm,
But instead, if you look at that and talk to it, confront it, then you start to see where that channeling part starts to come from because then you start saying to it, no. And it never hurts to say no,
right,
especially when it says you're going to fail and you're going to lose. You're not going to make it. This channel's going to sink and we're going to all forget all about you.
mm-hmm,
And you know what I said to that? Then let it be.
mm-hmm,
Allow the Y-Wing guy to die if that's what it case, but I will not stop now because I understand what survival is like. Living in that car was exactly like that.
mm-hmm,
I lived in my car. I was like $25,000 in debt, dreams broken beyond mine. Had nothing but maybe a few pieces of bread and hand-me-down prunes from the grocery store that were 49 cents each, and a
mm-hmm,
job at a pig hide plant.
mm-hmm.
A pig hide plant. That was horrible. You don't want to know where lipstick comes from. um, I learned a lot from that experience. And yes, you could say I was damn near, dare I say it, suicidal. It was 3 months of that, man. That was brutal. On top of that, it was like approaching winter. That was cold as F. I made it because I refused to give in. I refused to accept that this is my reality for the rest of eternity. I said, no, there is a better way. I must pursue it. And yes, there was cold nights. Yes, there was nights where I was almost out of gas and I couldn't get to work, but I somehow did. Like, that's the struggle. That's also the realities of the world we live in. It's definitely not there to help you. It's there to take. And that's the world I'm willing to take on and say, that's enough. It's time to help the little guy. so,
Uh, so for the last two questions, and you're doing
yeah.
a great job, my man. Yeah, Adam, you're doing a great job so far. We have a lot of notes just kind of spitballing out here and just talking about things that are more personal, but also relate to you becoming the person that you wanted to be, right? So, in being somebody of guidance, right? What would be your advice for a new gamer who is like, say, if you're talking to your son and your son is 5, 6 years old, what would your thoughts be to him or her, um, and how would that be an influencer and towards continuing to game and getting into this life of a gamer?
Okay. Well, if anybody's young, I would say as a 6-year-old, don't don't pursue just yet. I know you see us doing this. I understand that you see us doing amazing things, but there is a walk and a path that you must take in your life that you have to grow up into in order to do what we're doing. It takes a lot of mental discipline. It takes a lot of realizations, a lot of growth, a lot of disturbing moments in your life to really get to this point where I can say I can stream. Being
Mm-hmm.
this honest with you guys right now, like I don't know how many talking the people I'm talking to right now because I have your stream off just to save the stupid thing. But if I'm talking to like say 40 people, they're going to get Adam as 40 people. They're going to understand the lifestyle that it takes a lot of work to get where we're at today and to the future. And I'm not going to recommend a young man or a woman, a boy or a girl to start streaming because there is so much information experience that they haven't experienced yet.
Mhm.
It's kind of like you getting blueprints to a house that you've never set inside, but you said, I'm going to go into this house, but you can't get there because you don't know how to walk yet.
Mhm.
Imagine that. So
Mhm.
I do not recommend kids to get into it just yet. Plus, there's so many dangers.
Mhm.
When Facebook became a thing, aside from the cool, like, yeah, I got a profile and I'm like checking, like, check me out, I'm Adam, the cool guy, like whatever. There's also a danger of bullying out there. Cyberspace bullying is huge, and I do not recommend kids to get into this because it's become more as a deep phenomenon. I was a bullied kid. I'm not lying. I wasn't perfect. I got my butt kicked. I was pulled off to the side. I've got scars on my arm from kids slicing them up,
Mhm.
but it's only gotten worse now. So protect yourself if you're a youngster. Wait. Make a plan, but wait. You have so much more to experience in the real life. You must go through real before you go digital. That's my honest opinion.
What
For
about
adults,
what about for gaming? Like even just starting a game out, what would some advice be for those
okay.
kids just getting
Well,
into
if
the
it's
world?
kids, like if we're talking about like 6 and under, stay away from shooters. I
Yes.
don't
Okay.
care. Like kids, like it's been around since the Halo days back in the day of like 2009, all the way till probably 2004, even further than that. Stay away from the shooters. I'm sorry, kids. You are really, really, I would not say competitive, but your emotions take over. You're not ready for that yet. And I know, like, if they got any parents that say, well, you don't know my kid, then so be it. That's okay. That's your child. I respect you. That's you. If I had a kid, no, not yet. I couldn't
Mhm.
play GoldenEye because my father actually played it a few times and he saw the problems with that game.
Mm.
He says, my sons are way too competitive. And I do remember getting mad at my brother and raising my fist at 10 years old. Not a game you want to be playing as a 10-year-old.
Mhm.
So it's too raw for kids to get into, and it creates if you want to know why people are doing this weird stolen valor stuff, and I've actually had to deal with some people that have done that on my professional paintball team, for instance. It starts there where you start saying, I want to be in the military, I want to do this, and you start doing these crazy things on COD. You're like, yeah, I'm like killing people, it's great. But then you get into the military and you find out it's completely different.
Mhm.
It whips you out of shape. It whips you in the shape. It breaks you down, builds you up. It does a whole whack of things. If you think you're that guy off a COD, you're inspired to be a character from a book. That's the wrong way to go. So that's why I recommend having kids stay away from those. It's too risky. I've seen a lot of angry kids come out, not of just games, but just come out of that zone at the end of the game.
Mhm.
Like they're just out their rage. Like all those videos you would laugh at on YouTube of people smashing their keyboard when they're losing their shit, all that stuff. Half of them are kids. That's just bad sign, man.
Mhm. What
That's
about
just me. That's my
what?
personal opinion.
And I agree. I mean, appropriate games are definitely should be encouraged. You know, now shooters have excelled from GoldenEye and whatnot to GTA 5 and I mean there are way other bloodier games than that, like Gears of War and all that stuff.
GTA
Yeah.
5, I've seen some of the worst come out in that game.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of fun when you're an adult, but you start seeing kids doing some really sketchy things. I'm talking about like finding hookers on the on the side of the road and doing some experimentations. It's like, how old are you? Oh, I'm 10.
Mhm.
You're 10. Man, that sure changed. But it's like, that's it. I'm not a parent yet, but I know it will affect the kid's life.
Mhm.
We can all, like, as 90s kids, we can all talk about our experiences with our games, Star Wars Squadrons, or Star Wars Rogue Squadron, or Banjo Kazooie, or the PlayStation Effect, or whatever. But we're able to say that our parents were a lot in control of our games. Like, my parents would not buy GoldenEye. They let
Mhm.
us play Banjo Kazooie. That's a sweet game.
Mhm.
But GoldenEye was definitely on the no list. When we did have it at our place, it's not like we weren't being watched. My dad allowed it once we
Mhm.
were old enough to maturely accept that this isn't reality. It's not the addiction.
Mhm.
And going back to the addiction things, kids will experience addiction at a faster rate if they're shooting playing shooters and streaming at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets scary, man. It's a dark area to be in. That's something I do not recommend for kids. What about for adults? You want me to answer that one?
Sure. What I also wanted to ask also is for, when we talk about gamers, we talk about like nerdom, right? And finding your community that you relate to. Ours is Star Wars, right?
That's right.
What would some advice be for finding your nerdom?
Okay. Well, it starts out with Discords. I've discovered that if I started in a Discord, I get to know people. I get to understand the mentality. And then, of course, start with stuff that you don't usually get into. See what happens. Like JK is into RTS games like Star Wars Empire at War or Animal Crossing. That's his latest biz. It's pretty cool. I don't know what Animal Crossing is. It looks kind of conky to me, but whatever. It looks fun. So I would recommend going into areas and just kind of chatting around, saying, hey, I'm new. Let people know you're new. I'm Adam. I'm brand new to Star Wars. I like Star Wars, but I don't know how to get started.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that are going to reach out to you, be like, hey, my name's Poiboitv. I like Star Wars too. And that's called networking.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's you relay the common facts that you have between each other and you act on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's pure and simple. Like you do Poi, I do 3D prints. We both have something in common. We have substance for our channels.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Like it's just that easy. When it comes to discovering new content, it never hurts to explore. Mm-hmm. If you are in a really good financial place and you've talked to your significant other as an adult, at least, that, hey, I'm going to be investing, like, say, $2,000 on this setup, do it. You never know where it'll go. If she says no, don't do it, because her opinion counts as well. It's just there's so many avenues to take down the road of how do I discover the games that I want to play and stream. You have to discover that on yourself. Everyone's got their own personal story. For me, I spent $2,500 on my setup up front to get it started, and here we are today. I've already paid that all back. It's all good. 3D printers on the way. Like, it's just an investment. If you invest into it, you're going to be good, but don't expect it to consistently be good. There's some dark avenues that you might have to say, okay, that's got to stop. Maybe I have to sell the channel, whatever it may be. Expect some probabilities.
What about for adults? What kind of games would you recommend for adults?
All right,
just trying to get into games.
I would say start out with some niche games. I'm talking about like, okay, remember when Among Us was huge?
Yep.
I think it still is. I don't know. I consider starting off with that. Niche games to gain some stability and not popularity, but just fun. Let the community get to know you. And don't stop there.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it was Star Wars Squadrons. Essentially, we jumped on a bandwagon that's still walking down today. And I'll be honest, it's the best bandwagon I've ever jumped on because it's fun. And it's honestly, it's in line with what I do. So pick a game that's in line with what you do. If you're just playing games, expect to be like everybody else. You're not any different from Ninja to I don't know, XQC. Get used to it. Because unless you don't offer anything new for your channel, a reason for a viewer to be invested into you, don't expect high numbers right off the bat. There's guys been trying to get the affiliate for 4 years, man. And they say, THATYWINGGUY, how do you do it? And I basically said, well, I looked at your channel, man. Where's the content? Where's the push? Where's your plan? Well, I figured if I played games, people would want to watch. I'm like, well, that's fine. They'll watch you, but don't expect them to stick around. They don't have a reason to do that. They've already seen 60 to 70 people on their list that have the same damn thing. What do? Differentiate, create something, and see what happens. You'll be surprised when you start creating this atmosphere for them to hang out in. And like maybe there's digital content that you're giving out. You hired an artist for $10 on Fiverr, and next thing you know, you got these amazing little emotes, whatever it may be. Differentiate and build. Treat it like a business, not like I'm going to call it a hobby business. Don't look at it as like, this is my next career. This is what I'm doing. No, seek it out as a hobby business at first and see where it goes. If the channel says, I need you to focus on me like a business owner because let's be honest, you're racking in cash, and you start doing the math, you're like, yeah, I can quit my job and see what I could take this place next. Linus Tech Tips. Go with this guy. He does computers, man. I remember when this guy started 10 years ago, or maybe even 11. He started out as my name is Linus Tech Tips on a channel called I can't remember it. Can't remember the company, but anyways, he started there 2 years, and then he took the channel, turned into something big, and now he's like one of the biggest channels out there because he started small and he started to persevere. He started to push forward. He invested his time. He believed in the dream and the goal and the mission of what his channel was. He could have been just another reviewer because everyone reviews computers, but he says, I'm going to take the extra mile and build something new. I'm going to inform the community that computers are not so hard. I'm going to inform the community that I am Linus. And that's what he did. Same thing with me. I'm that Y-Wing guy. My name's Adam. That's fine. But I am that Y-Wing guy. I'm the Y-Wing guy that you'll see in a match and shoot lasers at and probably kill or maybe get killed by. I am that Y-Wing guy that builds 3D prints and says, hey, guys, you can have this. This is my offer to you if you invest into me. I'm not saying it's like, oh, he's bribing. No. I'm giving you a reason to be around, and maybe you'll like why you're around. I've had in the recent times seen some drops. Like I was at 300 followers the other day, and I dropped to 298. Now I'm at 306. Cool. But I actually asked this on my Discord. I says, "Hey guys, you think my channel's getting stale?" Most people said no, and that's fine. Well, 3 or 4 people, sorry. That's fine. That's no feedback. But that's honest opinion. Like if they say these 3 people who are invested into my channel say no way, Jose, then that means that my self-doubt was trying to talk to me again, and I was wrong. It was wrong. Push forward. so
it's
create a plan and go ham.
Create a plan, feel confident with the person you create, and try to become as true to yourself in that role as possible so that you can get as many people in your stream or people that just want a game with the same type of person. Just be your true self and you'll find like people to come in as well. Right.
Yep. I'll also give you guys this. I'm pretty sure you encountered this, but trolls will come out of nowhere. I saw 3 deleted messages. I don't know what they said. I'm praying.
Oh no, that was just the famous. They try to sell viewers and stuff. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We all know those.
What was it like? Free subs for you? I think those are the stupid names are called. Yeah, it's pretty dumb. Never do that if you're being an aspiring streamer. Do not do that because if you want to be sponsored, sponsors are going to look in to see how many bots you have for followers. It's a scary thought.
So my last question for you for tonight is, where can we find you on social media? How can people watching today find you on social media?
So on social media, you can find me on Instagram called THATWINGGUY. You can look it up. I have 54 followers. It's okay. I'm still working with the Instagram things. I'm still advancing. So if you don't like what I got, please just bear in mind I'm still learning that thing. Instagram is still a whole new niche for me. I got a lot of cosplayers contacting me. Honestly, it's kind of weird. A lot of girl cosplay. So I'm just like, I have to buy my wife whenever I was like, Amanda, my wife, come here. She goes, what? I'm like, hey, this person here contacted me. What do you think? She goes, wow, she looks great in that outfit. I'm like, okay, I got the approval. I can talk to this person. Set your boundaries. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Discord called Gold Squadron. You can find it in my bio, my about page on Twitch. And of course, you can find me here on Twitch. This is where you can find me. This is where I do all my jam. And every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays, here I am.
Hey, there we go, baby. Now you know where to find him. This guy, always playing Squadrons, always trying to keep content on his channel. Coming out today, it's a bold move to get interviewed, right? To talk not only about your stream and your journey to becoming a streamer and all that stuff, but talking about what happens inside and out. It's sometimes it feels, even as we're talking, it's troubling to talk about these things because it doesn't come naturally to everyone, right?
This is hard. It's really hard to talk about stuff.
It's hard.
Worth it.
Right. Right. And exactly.
So authentic. Sorry, I'm over talking to you.
No,
Sorry about
no,
that.
it's all good because it also brings a lot of enthusiasm out of us to be able to talk about ourselves in that manner. And if you guys are ever having any trouble with any mental health issues or anything of the sort relating to mental health, please seek help. Please talk to a professional because those people will
Yes.
allow you to advocate for yourself and guide you through what you're saying. Sometimes when it comes out, it seems jumbled, but the people that are talking with you about and facilitating those conversations, they will guide you through the details, right? They will show you all those important details, which you can find actually at the bottom. If you scroll down, you see all those pages that will link towards finding a professional online and in person. Yeah, go ahead, Wyman.
So the last thing I want to say here on that note, I did encounter this, and I'm not going to tell you what I did encounter, but it's going to be in one of these categories. Take a pick. Doesn't bother me. Plan for everything. Fail to plan, plan to fail. That's my mantra for that. Plan for suicidal awareness. You will encounter people who will want to do some weird things. You will also count a plan for trolls. How will you deal with these guys? Plan for your viewers. How will you interact with people? Plan for people who have special needs. How will you interact with those people? Plan for kids, because guess what? Kids come out of nowhere and they love being who they are, or little jerks. I counted a few. Plan to network. Who are you going to do things? Plan to understand that you're going to fail, but rise above it. Fail to plan, plan to fail.
Right.
That's the only thing I could say.
And even as streamers, you are also I consider this, you are play therapists, right? You play a game and you talk to your chat. They vent and you kind of cycle through all the details that they're talking about in chat, and you want to make sure that there's some important lessons to be learned from what you say. So not just
It's
disregarding what people say as like, oh, this is just one part of detail. No, this is important for everybody else to hear, right? And that's our job as a streamer as well.
Well, when it comes to suicidal awareness, for instance, like I'm glad that you have links to these areas, because a lot of streamers are not prepared for this.
Yeah.
And I find that if a streamer tries to become the counselor for that person, you're not really helping.
Right.
At that point, you need to give them a lifeline, and that's part of my plan, is like give them a lifeline, or create a plan if you know the person personally. Create a plan to inform the right people to help this one, whoever it may be. That's if you know. But if you don't take it upon you. It's hard. It's going to hurt. But that lifeline is an option for them. You're giving them that option. And sometimes you may even have to ban these people. It's a hard reality we live in as streamers, that regardless of suicide awareness or dealing with trolls or maybe even kids, we have to put our foot down and make a boundary, like, stop. You're interceding. My energy here is healthy. I understand you want to do this to yourself, but do not make this your last place. And I'm sorry I have to ban you, but here are some lifelines you can take from me right now. It's a hard reality as streamers we live in, especially with pandemics. We live in a world, man, right now. Everyone's in a hurting state. I'm lucky to be the fortunate few that doesn't have to go through that.
I
But I
think
can guarantee it's going to hurt somebody.
I think it's a matter of being open and accepting those who come in who are seeking to be able to connect with you and be able to really find that as what we were talking with a Y guy or Adam. We were talking about that asylum, like that place where you can feel most comfortable. That if
Yeah.
we even if we were to say anything, an oasis online, right? So
Yeah.
if you see something, say something. Always find references and resources to be prepared for those situations. And again, like it's a matter of just not considering it such a surprise and such a unique quality, but rather a part of life and being more normalized. If you see somebody with red flags, always indicate that there is help. There's other options. There's ways
Yes.
around it. Yep.
Big time. Have a plan, guys. This is going to happen. So give them that lifeline, but do not play the counselor, whatever you do, because that is a scary place to be. It will kill your chat. It will kill maybe even your channel, or even raise a flag. You, at that point, are super responsible for the channel's growth and its survivability. And above all, your example towards the community. And I've already informed my community that, yes, there will be a time where I'll have to do the hard thing in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
Even inform them, hey, I went through this. This is why.
Mm-hmm.
But if I keep it professional, I'm pretty sure the channel will survive on. And I've like I said, I've stepped on toes. I've hurt people, not hurt people, but like people have been hurt by the actions I had to take. But that's the reality of owning a channel. Like, you have to own this. You can't let that stuff slide. It's a dangerous aspect. Oh, sorry.
No, it's all good. Again, these are the big topics that we're talking on the bonfire segment, and again, I want to thank Adam for coming out tonight and talking a little bit about his journey and becoming a streamer and becoming such an influencer in the Squadrons and Star Wars community. So I want to thank you again for coming out and talking with us.
Well, thank you.
And I will make sure to put the segment. It will be on YouTube, so you can find it there or through the VODs at my on my Twitch VOD. So thank you again for coming out, my man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for the interview, man. I had a lot of fun.
Absolutely, it's always a pleasure talking with you, and I love the enthusiasm, the energy that you bring in, and I think the chat also appreciated that. So I want to say thank you for doing that, and again showing us how you integrated what Y-Wing-Guy is to how Adam is, right, and integrating that true self. So thank you again for coming on and talking about that.
Hey, no problem, man. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you again on Tuesday game day. See you around, guys.
Yeah, Tuesday game day, baby. Peace
Have a
out,
good night
bud.
there, boy. Thanks again.
All right, let's get back to intermission.